All right. Hey, everybody. It's your boy, Tatharis again. We're going to do another ramble today. Huzzah! So, in the time-honored tradition of rambles, Jaden is back in the house. The
Hello,
music
I guess I'm the
nerd
Ramble
supreme.
guy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so far, you haven't... There's only so many games that, you join us for, and, our stream times and whatnot have been weird and all that fun stuff. So far on the channel, you've been the stream guy, or you've been the ramble guy. It doesn't have to be just that.
So
But,
far, but I am more of a single player guy. I don't play a ton of multiplayer games in the first place.
yeah.
So
I mean, you did go down the science project of Diablo 4 at launch with us. We did a ramble on the old channel that way,
I did. I just
back in the
got so
day.
burned out on action RPGs, but
I
that's
understand.
just because there's so many of them, and really the focus has been a lot more on finding the meta, building shit to the meta and all that. And that's just not really my cup of tea.
So this is going to be your formal invitation to it. This will be for later if you want. So I've basically been forced to agree. I'm saying this way, and I have a long discussion on how I compared Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2 as like the old a toxic relationship, and I'm being pulled back into
Right.
play with the or to date the hot mess of a sister, aka PoE2. So I
Yeah,
think the
right.
launch is like next week. It's coming up soon. We're not gonna do it on launch day, but I've agreed to play with Nose and Zay and basically do some streaming and kind of do my initial critiquing and whatnot. And then afterwards, Malintent has agreed that at some point we'll coordinate because he's also going to do that. He does not like Path of Exile 2. He's on record. He's not a fan. He prefers Path of Exile 1. So
I'm not surprised.
we're gonna do a
Yeah.
conversation on it. So if you want to be a fly on the wall and just piss on action RPGs and stuff, you could join us for that. You don't have
I
to.
would definitely wouldn't mind listening to a malintent nerd rant. You got to love
Yeah.
your nerd rants out there. Always fun to hear nerds that are so passionately into something, tear something down because this thing is just not the right way. So
And it's like I'm very scared that I'll probably be defending Diablo 4. I mean, we've been playing it. There's just a new expansion that launched
I've
recently. We
heard
have
that
a
it was
few
pretty
videos.
good.
It
I've
was.
heard that they fixed some issues,
Yeah.
and really, I've heard not just from you guys, but I've heard that the season is really solid. Like it's there's
There's
nerd buzz,
there's some
afoot.
microtransaction problems and some other minor stuff, but
Well, this
overall,
just
but
yeah.
that's Blizzard these days. It's
It's
the marketing.
2026 these days,
Yeah.
really.
Well, I mean, Activision Blizzard is a very greedy company. Blah 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 blah. Like we can go down that hill. Anyway, there's gonna be a hopefully. I mean, as long as the world doesn't conspire against us actually coordinating it, probably in a few weeks we'll do a recording. So anyway, there's your formal your
No, that
formal
sounds
invite for
good.
that.
I'll try to be there for that. I mean, I know work's been kind of busy for me, and I haven't had as much time as I'd like,
Yeah.
but I'm glad I had the Sunday here that we could hang out and talk. It's been a bit, so yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So we do have a couple of official topics that we kind of agreed with. Like these might be interesting. I don't know how much we'll go into them. We may spend 45 minutes bullshitting on something else that comes off the top of our dome. I don't know. But like we have them prepared. And I think the first one we want to kind of talk about was the state of I mean, honestly, this could apply to journalism in general, but we were planning on talking about kind of the hyperbolic way of saying is the death of games journalism. It's not that and I think that the spoiler TLDR is it's not that journalism is dead, it's traditional games journalism is just becoming irrelevant for a lot of factors. And
I'd agree with that.
I have a bunch of
Yeah.
examples in here that we can use to like talk about things, but Lord knows I talk enough on this channel.
You
That's the
are a
topic.
talker. Yes, you are.
I want to just shut up for a minute and like just where does this like topic take you first? And like we'll bounce off that riff until we say, yeah, we've talked enough.
Well, I think you spoke to it right when you introduced the topic, which is essentially that there's an issue with journalism in general, and that has more to do with the fact that it used to be there was sort of standards of decorum of sort of principles, journalistic principles that used to be adhered to. They're not necessarily adhered to so much now. Everything is sensationalistic. Everything is trying to make money over everything. But old school journalism used to be about getting to the truth. And of course, this doesn't completely apply when we're talking about this, because obviously when you're criticizing any kind of art, right, it's going to be subjective.
Yeah,
But at least, intellectual rigor should always be a part of journalism. And there are a lot of what seems like really lazy, phoned in takes. Now, this isn't a new thing. But I think a lot of this has to do less with about traditional games journalism in general, and more to do with social media, making so many more reviews that are just amateur people that are not real writers. Had take more precedence in the space. Like you look at Steam reviews. I mean, there's still a lot of garbage Steam reviews where they just
sure.
make a stupid joke. I
There's also a
hate
lot
those.
of
Give me a
garbage
real
people, but
fucking review, please. I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't be saying curse word. That's bad for the algorithm. So I should calm down. I had a couple of
yeah,
drinks, so I'm
don't
more
worry about that. I mean,
focused.
if the rambles never get monetized, I'm not gonna cry. And I mean, if I was really playing the algorithm game, podcasts in general should be on a separate channel, and I'm just
You
I
are
don't
an
know.
artiste. Do not compromise your artistic
Yeah.
vision for money,
I do
please.
wanna pull on a thread that you just said there, though, because I
Yeah,
think that's very true. I think that the traditional games journalism has been completely supplanted by basically amateur people on YouTube and other forums. I mean, YouTube is technically part of social media, but I never consider it part of social media when I say social media,
sure.
right? Like, and the reason I think that is because you can go find your favorite YouTuber. I really hope you're looking at people that are sensible and not terrible, but I know that's not always the case. But you can go find someone who likes the same type of games. You could both have no taste whatsoever when it comes to video games, from my opinion. That's fine.
Hmm.
But you find someone else who loves those type of games, like, I'm not a big live service game person. Yes, we play Diablo 4, we're gonna play PoE 2, but we don't play like the big like we're not the Fortnites and marathons and blah blah blah
I
blah
hate
blah.
live service more
Yeah,
than you do. That's clear.
you do. I tolerate it occasionally because multiplayer experiences are harder to find. I mean, there's tons of them, but what I'm saying is that at some point, if you're gonna play stuff with other people, you're probably going to end up playing something that's tangentially related to live service. But anyway, what I meant was,
True.
you find someone who has a similar taste in games to you, and just by watching them play things or talk about things, you're gonna get a good idea of whether you might like the thing they're playing or not, or the thing they're talking about. Because after a while, you've established, like, well, they love all these type of games, but they also like Hello Kitty Adventure Island. Okay, if it's anything like Hello Kitty, I know I hate that. I'm not gonna listen to those reviews from, but they do love all these other things. So if they say the
Hey,
next
maybe you would
final
like the Hello Kitty game.
I
You
mean
don't
I
know.
mean,
You can try
maybe. It might be worth
it.
trying, but I mean, no one's gonna be 100% to you, right? But if you find
No,
someone
I
who's
mean,
like 80 to
sure,
90% similar games, if they say they thought it was pretty cool, it's probably worth it. If they say, "Well, it was okay, but I didn't like these things," then you go, "Yeah, but those things don't matter to me," then you're probably gonna enjoy it. That's what I do with Steam reviews, right? Like, I go and I look at the
sure.
Steam reviews, I'm less interested in the positive reviews, I'm more interested in the negative ones. And when the person says something that amounts to, "I'm bad at games," which I am also, but also I don't understand what a turn-based strategy game is. If I can read between the lines and I say that, it's like, "Well, I'm not gonna listen to your review on a Final Fantasy Tactics style game." You know what I mean? Like,
Well, sure. I mean,
that's
if
the
there's a
art of
specific
learning new modern reviews, like reading between the lines, right?
right, if there's a specific genre you don't like, obviously you shouldn't be reviewing it. You're not going to give a good review, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
that happens with some people,
But you're gonna
or
get more of that than you are
or
gonna
some
say going to IGN, right?
sure. Well, some people get so hyper fixated with reviews on some specific aspect, and the way that they talk about it. Oh, it's like, oh, all these things are great. I really liked it. This is so good. This is so good. And then they mention one bad thing, and then that tanks the review down to like 6 or 7 out of 10. And it's like, wait a minute, what? That doesn't make a lot of sense. It's sort of like the mouse detective or
Yes.
the
IGN
boomer
stepping on
shooter.
tons of rakes and the mouse. Yes, I'm with
There's
you.
too much
Yeah, yeah.
cheese in a mouse game that
And
ruins
too many
everything
cheese
for me.
puns.
Too many cheese puns.
Not enough
Um,
film noir. Dude, what do you this wasn't gonna be Chinatown. What the fuck were you
no,
thinking?
exactly, exactly.
Like, I
And it's a silly game that's a boomer shooter that's sort of was inspired by Cuphead, like
yeah.
visuals wise, which is cool. Who doesn't love Cuphead? But come on, just be a
You
little less ridiculous about how you review it. Or the problem with that particular review is he's focusing on this is noir, this is not doing noir enough, and it's like, dude, like you're hyper fixating on something. You're not giving the rest of its the chance that it deserves. It's a silly boomer shooter that's mice. I mean, boomer shooters are kind of silly anyway, right? You're running around, you're killing stuff. I haven't played the game, so I shouldn't actually give it my own review. But
but from your
and maybe this
impressions,
is a hot take.
yeah.
Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I haven't played it, so yeah,
I don't even I appreciate that you're willing to give the caveat. I try to do the same thing too, but when you do discussions like this, I do like to play the games I talk about, but there's too many games, and some things are like no offense to Mouse PI. I think it's really cool that it exists, but there was no way in hell I was ever gonna play it,
it was
right?
not my game.
Yeah,
The funny
and
thing
for
is,
the
I
fact
love
that
boomer shooters, but
sure,
despite the fact that I loved boomer shooters back in the day,
doesn't mean you
it
want one now or you want
well, it's
this one
just
right now.
no, not really. And I know that there are a lot of younger sort of Gen Z because I've met a lot of these people, nerds that actually kind of wish that they were young in
Yeah.
the sort of early computer age, and it's like, oh, I wish I was around when they were playing Unreal Tournament and all this shit. It's this sort of rose tinted glasses
No, you
for
don't, dude.
nostalgia for a time that you weren't in. It's like, how shitty the internet was back then.
Nerds were picked
Uh,
on relentlessly. You were lucky, like, depending on
well,
where
that
you
was
lived.
before nerds were cool,
Yeah,
right?
like,
I
well, I
mean,
mean,
I
if you lived
I, I
in a
played
small
D&D.
town, you're lucky if you
Yeah.
found one other person who was into the same stuff you were, right? Like,
Exactly. And nobody was getting any pussy if they were playing D&D back in the 90s, I'll tell you that much. You know what I'm saying?
there's one guy who'll be
So,
like, "You're lying." I was like, "Dude, calm down."
yeah, I wasn't that guy, I'll tell you
Yeah.
that.
No, yeah, I mean, this is that's a good one to start with because, like, an IGN specifically is a great place to talk about it because, like, there's such a
Sure.
huge conglomerate, and there's so many different stories here. But, like, yeah, complaining about too much cheese in a mouse game or cheese puns, and then, like, that's the thing. That's like, "There's too much water." Sir, you're reviewing a pirate game. Yes, there's too much water.
You're reviewing Waterworld,
Yeah,
right?
it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, but there's two aspects I want to take on this. The one is, and this could go into a couple different conversations. I'm not going to go down those paths, but just to set the scene, there's a lot of people who really wanted to get into Hollywood or various aspects of Hollywood that didn't get into Hollywood, and instead
Sure.
they went into games. Even though games makes way more money, games have always obsessed and put Hollywood on a pedestal, even though Hollywood has been failing, and they're trying to adopt the model. And oh, look, now AAA is failing. Huh, I wonder why. Setting the seeds for other conversations in the future potentially. But like, I really wish I had a picture of this. There was a Legendary Drops video, one of his streams that he did, I don't know, in the last month or two, where he had a
Hmm.
picture of it. So to go along with this guy, the noir guy, this other guy did a review of some game where the review is basically nonsense, but he spends like two of his four paragraphs on his review of this game, making this really obscure music comparison. And maybe there are people who knew what this band is that he was talking about. I don't know if they're new, I don't know if they're old, but the dude sounds like the same thing I treat with the traditional reviewers of Hollywood. I'm not talking about Siskel and Ebert, but you know who I'm talking, like the concept. These avant-garde assholes who then go and go, "Huh, Marvel Endgame is so juvenile, blah 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 blah." It's like, shut the fuck up. Just stop. I understand you like your little avant-garde stuff. This dude in the one I'm talking about now clearly wanted to be a music critic. But that's not where he got hired. He got hired at IGN to review video games. And so he's got to put his and I like it that it's a music thing because I know you can understand, right? Because you're the music nerd, right?
Sure, sure.
But like, and if you have something cool to talk about the music, like, well, they actually did a really good job. This is a riff on this type of song. I saw these type, like that could be cool stuff you could talk to. and say, I like the music soundtrack or I hate the music soundtrack of this. But when you just go on a tangent that doesn't mean anything, that just talks randomly, or you're the guy who's wanted to be I firmly believe wants to be a film critic who who's like, oh, this is noir, I'll take it. And then you're really sad that the mouse PI boomer
Yeah,
shooter.
but it wasn't really noir. It had noir elements to it, but
Correct.
it was just
But
goofy
he's
and silly.
pissed
And
because it's not truly noir.
no,
Because
he's a
it's
noir
not.
nerd,
Yeah,
and
right.
that's what he wants.
He's a film nerd who probably wished he could have been alive back in the day to review Chinatown, right? Like that's what he
Right, or
wanted
those
to do.
old
But
30s pre-code Hollywood, like,
yeah,
old school noirs. He's
yeah.
probably creaming his jeans over that
And
shit,
that's why I wanted to make that music comparison, right? These are the
Yeah.
people who are getting hired sometimes at IGM and other places in the traditional games journalism. And it's like, you're just out of touch, dude. Like,
Yeah,
who
dude.
is this review for? You IGN has been stepping on all these type of rakes related to this. The fact that they gave Subnautica a 7 out of 10, the second one that just recently hit early access, on the first day of early access because it didn't have enough content. It's the first day of early access.
I mean,
Why are you
Subnautica was such an important game in the industry, like, it really
the
inspired
first one, and the
so much
fact that
shit.
I mean, this is another side topic. I don't want to go too far, but like they sold like 250 million copies or something. It
I'm
was
not surprised.
250 something. Maybe it was 250,000. I think it was 250 million. In like the first day or two. I don't remember the exact story, but all I'm saying is like that's why I said that's a separate topic because the
250
them versus
million sounds
craft is
high,
crazy.
but maybe it is.
They hit some crazy numbers, but that's because the first one is held in such high regard, and all the drama with
Sure.
Crafton only gave them more eyes. People turned out in droves to support that game,
Yeah,
and
dude.
they're like, no, it's a 7 out of 10 because there's not enough content. It's early fucking access. Did you not cover? Did you were you asleep for the last 2 years of litigation and other bullshit with the CEO of Crafton and all the bullshit that went on? Give me a fucking break. Like it's okay to have a dissenting opinion. Like the dude who gave Crimson Desert a 6 out of 10 on launch. And based on the stories I heard about the state it was pre-launch, which is what people would review, I'll actually defend that critic and say, I understand why you gave it a 6 out of 10. Because a lot of the criteria that they complained about, I get, but you're still in the minority. In general, people loved Crimson Desert or were willing to give it a pass for its foibles. And the studio, to their credit, have been nonstop patching that game. Like they are crunching like crazy, but they're based in Korea. We know the Asian countries have a very different opinion on crunch and pay structure, right?
Which I don't love that, but
I
at the
don't
same
either, but
time, I do. At the same time, regardless of that, I do appreciate any kind of company
yeah,
that is listening to its fan base. It's really trying to continuing their mission to make the game as best as it can be,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Given what they've got. Yeah.
And I'm waiting like I'm probably I've said this before. Like I don't think I'll play it for at least a year after release because
Yeah.
based on the state of these patches and the crazy stuff they're just putting in for free and everything. I mean, the game sold to gangbusters. There's people who loved it at launch. You should never play this game because it's the definition of an open world game. There is
Eh.
so much shit in this game. It's absolutely ridiculous. Um,
No, I get it.
but
And I don't know
but
how
I like
grindy it is, but you
it.
know how
Oh,
much I love the
absolutely.
grind.
The
Yeah.
story is the story is problematic. Like half the story apparently gets released after you've played the game, you've finished the main story, and then done like I don't know 20, 30 hours of unneeded content
Yeah.
post end story to unlock apparently like a library or something that has a bunch of books that would explain what was going on. Like
Uh,
th- this studio previously made Black Desert Online. They're an MMO story studio that set up a separate
yeah,
side for
that
this.
makes me a
The
little
game was
wary,
originally
honestly.
designed to be an MMO and then was
Okay.
turned into a single player game. Um, and it has a lot of benefits from that. Like it's got crazy amounts of systems in it. Camp creation, just like all these things. You have like 2 or 3 side characters that you can actually take over. You can't play them for the main campaign. I'm sure someone will mod that at some point. But like there's like 2 or 3 other characters you can like unlock and play on side missions and stuff if you want. You don't have to. There's just a ton of shit in the game. And it's an open world. It's a collectathon. There's just but if you like exploration, you can go wherever and do it. The problem is it doesn't hold your hand at all. Some people love that. For me, with
Y-
open worlds, I would rather have the option to have the icon mess on my screen, and then if I want, I could turn it off. But there's people out there that says
It
yellow
depends.
yellow
It.
paint is evil, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like,
I
So anyway,
mean, it's not open world so much that bothers me. I can deal with some open world games, but I don't know. What I don't like is a bunch of filler contents. Like remember those old, I've been rewatching some Star Trek, being the nerd that I am, right?
yeah,
Remember how many filler episodes they had, 20 years ago? Episodes were 20 seasons and all of that kind of thing.
yes,
Let's get to the meat and potato
marking
of the
time
good stuff.
episodes.
Right.
It's
And
why I loved Burn Notice so much back in the day, because
okay.
while it did marking time episodes,
Yeah.
they always had a little bit in somewhere buried in that episode where like the furthering of the plot for the season also
Uh-huh.
occurred. So maybe you had like a 5-minute segment in every episode where, because if I remember right, like it's been ages, the guy was a CIA operative or something, and he got burnt. So he was off, and he was trying to.
I remember
The
seeing that
entire
on there.
thing was he was trying to get back into the game.
Okay,
So
interesting.
so basically he's constantly doing these little things like extorting people, or not, extorting's not the right word. What I'm saying is he was engaged with people who were on the fringes of all this spook stuff and trying to like find out why he was burned. Like each season something different, right? Like because he's peeling back and learning more and more and more, but he's trying to get back into the game is the whole point of the show. And then, but like, so he'd like hand off a letter to someone and say, go, and like he got money somehow. So he'd use that money to go, like, okay, go research this thing for me to get more intel.
Yeah,
But then
I should have
but
watched
he's
that.
doing something else to pay the bills, right? Like, so he's doing something else with his skill set. So it is a marking time filler episode, but you get those little hints where, and then like the next episode he gets some information back and he reacts to that and he starts considering how he's going to make his next move, but then he's pulled into this other chicanery in the meantime, right? So like that was the
Yeah,
definition of the great way to do that. And then as you mentioned with Star Trek, it's like,
there are
oh,
some
there's
really
a
good.
teleporter episode where we get a clone. And do we talk about that clone? No, you're gonna have to wait 3 fucking seasons before that comes up again, and it'll only be
Well,
one
that's
more
true,
episode,
and
right?
I'm
Like,
I'm talking shit about Star Trek, but there are some bottle episodes that were sort of intended to save money. With
yeah,
low turned out to be the best episodes. Duet from DS9, for example. I don't want to make this a
no, no,
Trek
no, no.
ramble because,
I have to say
you
one
know,
thing on
whoever
that
listens
though.
to this,
I love
what's that?
DS9, right?
DS9
But
is the
do
best Star Trek.
you
Let's be real.
remember how cringy Bashir was in the beginning? Uh, Red Letter Media did a retrospective. They went back
I
and
don't
like
think I saw that one.
they went back recently, like I don't know, a month or two ago. You should go see it. It'll be funny because I'd like to get your take off stream on this. But
I
like
should check it out.
they re-review like the first season or two or something, and they show some scenes of Bashir, and it's like, dude, he was a freaking sex pest. He was hitting on everyone, and he's so freaking cringy. And he says the worst things like, you couldn't have remade him now. You just can't. He's not acceptable in today's society. I'm like, I remember being annoyed
Mostly
with
the
him, but
thing
I
that I
also remember
remember.
later when they reveal he was genetically altered and he's like a superhuman basically. Like I
Which that
remember
was
that shit.
cool.
But like in the
Um,
beginning, oh my God, he was a problem.
I remember it differently. The biggest thing that I remember was the like weird gay relationship between him and Garrick. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
everybody talked about that at the time. And that was back in the '90s when being gay was like it's still quite a bit more stigmatized than it is now. I mean, it is still sometimes in the more further reaches of, but quite a
You
bit
need
more
to go see
acceptable
that
now.
Red Letter Medium episode. I
I'll
think
have
you'll
to
find
check
it
it out.
hilarious. It's not long. They have like 2 parts, but they're like
Okay,
45 minutes or something. You'll enjoy it.
but
Right
that's
there.
good.
There's our Star
Yeah.
Trek talk for the day.
Yeah, brief. Star. I mean, I could talk about Star Trek for the whole rest of this podcast.
I'm a
I'm a huge Star Trek
tourist.
nerd.
Realistically, when it comes to Star Trek and Star Wars, I was never super into either. So when people be like, you have to be, back in the day, people are always like, you have to be into Star Trek or Star Wars. I'm like,
Star Trek is so much better than Star Wars, though. Let's
I'm
be
not
real.
fighting it. You can't get me because I don't care. And both have
You
fallen
don't care
so
enough either way.
no. Well, like I love DS9.
Yeah, DS9's great.
I liked Next Generation. I also, even at that early age before I was corrupted by the film critic gene of that college class I took, uh
Sure.
I thought that the pilot of Star Trek Generation was one of the biggest piles of dog shit I've ever seen. Where
Oh, it was
like
awful. Yeah, it was
and like
awful.
I just the big scenarios. Can he trust him to dock manually? Dude, dock manually was
Yeah,
pressing
that was
3
the
buttons
dumbest fucking
versus
scene in
pressing
that.
1 button or something. Like it was
Right.
just like it just was bad. Like that stuck in my head, but like that might have been the
No, I
first
know.
kernel, like the first thing that I truly went, that shit, like the animation show The Critic back in the day. I don't know if you
No,
remember that.
no,
It
I definitely
stinks.
remember the credit. It stinks.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes, Mr. Sherman, everything stinks. Yeah,
right.
they put
Yes, yes, yes. But like that was the first moment I think I ever had that kind of vibe in my head. It's not that I didn't hate
sure,
things or dislike things
sure.
before, but I'm like, but I like what Star Trek Next Generation turned into. But I mean, I also never felt like they weren't
It
my
took a
core
couple of
identity.
seasons.
Does that make sense? Like I liked it. There were aspects of Star Wars I liked, but none of it was my core identity. And
I mean, here's the problem I think with modern Trek, right?
it's
Every
shit.
Star Trek since the beginning of Trek of all time has had a really rough first season or first couple of seasons, and then it finds its legs and it gets really good. But in the modern sort of media environments, right? If something's not making money right away, it's going to immediately get canceled, and so it never has a chance to find that. At the same time, don't get me started on Kurtzman and New Trek. Like I will nerd rage, old man yells at clouds style.
Did you consume anything, not the actual shows, but did you read up anything on Starfleet Academy?
I watched. So okay, so I am in an I being a nerd.
I
I
am
have this.
poking you, but
No,
we're on
no.
the same side on this. Just to be clear.
So I have this internet group of friends that has this Star Trek group, and we've actually been watching because I never actually watched Voyager back in the day because I didn't like Janeway in the very beginning. Everybody's
Yeah,
there like, "Oh, you got to watch Voyager. Voyager is so good." And so we've actually been streaming. I stream over VLC. You remember VLC? You actually used to be able to like stream over the internet. Well, we do that, and we watch these shows and have some popcorn and talk about that. But I've
yeah.
been rewatching Voyager and Janeway. I like Janeway more than I remember. As we get later into the later episodes, right? It's one of those shows that took a
I
couple of seasons to find its legs.
okay. We haven't talked about this on this round. Maybe we mentioned something on one of the old
Yeah.
ones as a side, but my takeaway for so I was in college at the time.
Uh huh.
Uh, my my good buddy, my hairband friend who went to all the Ozfests with me, and we did all of our headbanging back in the day. Went to tons of cool heavy metal concerts and stuff.
Cool.
Uh, he loved Star Trek. Super nerd. Miss that
Nice.
guy. I wish we were still in touch.
Yeah.
I
That's
think he
too
went
bad,
off to
man.
work for IBM or something, and then from there, I don't know what happened. Like I
Yeah,
said,
you just
it's
lost
because I
touch.
moved, right? I moved away
It
in the
happens.
middle of college to a different place to meet my future wife, and that's as far as we're going
Sure.
down that topic. Anyway,
Yeah.
but
Sure. Sure.
so we settled in to watch Voyager because that was the time, and we watched I think the first 2 seasons. I think maybe first season and
The
a
first
half.
two seasons are not. The
And
first two seasons are not super great. There are a couple of good episodes.
my problem was, and this is before the wokeism became like a coded thing. I'm not saying there's always been people fighting for rights and blah 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 blah, but we turned to each other and had the same thought, like basically at the same time, and it destroyed us having any possibility of being able to enjoy that show. And that
Okay, what
was
was the scene?
no, it was the first episode.
The very first
It was the
episode.
first
Really?
episode, but we percolated over a little bit. But it's because the main cast is all minorities. The only white guy on the show is an ex-con.
Uh,
Well, there's 2
I
white guys.
never.
The other one is the doctor, but he's a computer program.
You
Everyone
gotta love the Doctor though. That's a great
I'm
character.
not saying they were bad. What I'm saying is everyone in the show was basically a minority of some form. which is hilarious
Yeah, I never really noticed that, but
because you weren't me and my roommate at that
yeah,
time because wokeism wasn't a thing there. I'm not saying I'm on either side of that debate. I'm just saying latent film critic brain activating. That was before I took the film class. But again, it was one of those moments where I went, dude, what the fuck? It's when you see something like when you could point out to someone, look at that one pixel, it's off center. And then you see it and then you can't unsee it. You know what I mean?
I
Like
see.
it's completely minor, but once we saw it, we couldn't stop viewing it from that lens. And then from then on, we're just looking at it like, and then all the weird
So
shit
then you're
like,
hyper focusing on that. You're not
yeah,
paying attention to
right.
anything else.
And once your suspenders of disbelief are pulled, you're like, they're doing this intentionally. They couldn't have not done this intentionally. And I'm okay. Like, I don't, from what I hear about how Janeway was, she was a very schizophrenic captain because she would wobble between, we must save absolutely everyone to fuck those guys. I will burn the entire
No, that
world to the
is a
ground
little bit
for this
true,
one plant,
admittedly.
right? Like,
Um,
that's what I've the genesis of what I've learned later. And I'm like, that's kind of hilarious. And there's probably some fun in there. And there was good actors, like the Doctor was good. You got 709. There was, and then you had poor
I
Ensign
liked
Kim.
Kess, but they got rid of Kess for 7 and 9, which was unfortunate.
Ensign Kim was my breaking point.
You mean how he, in fact, he never got promoted? He was the ensign the whole time.
Well, they had an episode on that. That episode was my breaking point because he
Oh,
finally
they
says,
did.
"I've had enough of this.
I still haven't watched the whole show.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna take charge." Like this was in the first like couple seasons, like I said. I mean, unless we saw 3 seasons, I don't think we did. But it was
I
like
don't
in the
think I
very
saw that episode.
But because it's an unremarkable episode, unless you're already in film critic brain, which again, I've established because we saw that at the very beginning. We're like, this is fucking hilarious. And then we couldn't unsee it. And then they had this episode. He basically says, I've had enough of this. I'm just going to take charge, whatever. Like, I'm a new man, blah, 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 blah. And then after the episode, they never acknowledge it. And he's back to just being the fucking ensign for the rest of the
It's
show in
kind of sad
theory.
that he never got a little bit of,
Well,
recognition.
it's sadder that they actually had an episode on it and they couldn't commit
And
to
then
that
they didn't
episode.
actually incorporate that into the
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the episode. That's the definition of a marking time
I'll have
episode,
to
right?
I'll have to watch that episode. I don't think I've seen it. The one episode back in the 90s is I was watching it with my dad. Me and my dad watched all the old Star Trek episodes, right?
Yeah.
Back when I was a teenager. And the one that my dad is just like, this is shit. Dude, Captain Picard would never say this shit. And he had a nerd rage incident. I'm like, yeah, fuck this show. Because, I loved my dad. I idolized him. And it was that episode where she's like, they're running out of dilithium or whatever for the fucking replicator,
Yeah.
and there was this one nebula, and Janeway says, "There's coffee in that nebula." It's like, oh, that's so fucking stupid. Like, that's such a stupid thing to say, and that's so petty, I think, and
Hmm.
so sort of superficial. But I'm like, yeah, I'm done with that shit. My dad was too. So
Yeah. Dude. Well, anyway, the reason I asked if you there's our Star Trek. Anyway, it's too much content. But like if you just had a day where you wanted to binge and just like zone out for a bit, um, I really enjoyed experience episode by episode. Um, the season of Starfleet Academy from the view of Angry Joe and his two friends Alex and Other Joe because
that show definitely got a lot of hate. I
it's the
watched a
same
couple of
reason why I
episodes.
enjoyed listening to their breakdowns of Acolyte because Other Joe is like me but even more so. He was never a fan and never got into like he just didn't get into Star Wars or Star Trek period. And
I see.
so because Alex and Angry Joe are super nerds on these topics. They love these things. They wanted to cover them, right? And they're hoping for something. But they're old school fans. And so they're watching these things that were like their children be destroyed. And Other Joe is just like, I don't have that frame of reference, man. It just sucks.
Well, sure.
And-
So I watched a couple of episodes of that show. I'll tell you how
yeah.
I sort of felt about it. Because a couple of the people in the Star Trek group I was talking about, they're like, "Oh, you got to watch Star Fleet Academy." I'm like, dude, I'm only reading shitty things about this show, and they're
It,
like,
it,
well,
it,
give it a shot, it's pretty good. And then one of them, so especially being a fan of DS9 like I am, she's like, hey, you need to check out this DS9 episode, and I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll check out the DS9 episode.
it was bad.
And for me, maybe I'm old and a little bit curmudgeonly. There were elements of both of the episodes that I saw that I liked. I actually wrote down a ton of notes, and I like was telling it to all of them. But I don't know. I think I'm a little bit too crotchety to be as into that. And I realize a lot of this has to do with me really loving a lot of the things about the old series that
Sure.
really is just isn't present in the new stuff. And I like to try to be a very open-minded person. I really do. But there were elements of that DS9 episode that I really like. Being a huge fan of DS9, but you know, and I'm a diplomatic guy. But
To be to be as generous as I can to the show, it sucks. However, from consuming the episode by episode breakdown, I can understand why some people, because even Angry Joe and Alex, there was a few things they're like, this is kind of interesting. And if they kept
yeah,
going this way, it would have been great. But instead they did this dumbass thing, right? And I'm of course I'm a critic, so I mean, you've put up with me for enough years now. You know how I am, like, right? Like, it doesn't matter how
you
much I
are
like
a
it.
very harsh critic.
But
This
I
is
do
true.
that because I do that to the things I love and the things I hate, right? Like nothing's perfect. But I do
Sure.
the breakdowns because it helps me reinforce, well, I like this. This is a flaw, yes, but in my mind, I overcame that flaw because it's written by humans, right? And humans are flawed, right? That's all I'm. That's just That's just how I approach shit. But I can see why, like, unfortunately, I think the people who really like this new track are really good at zoning out everything other than like the one thing they really like. And
I
like,
think a lot
and
of
that
it has
colors
to
their
do.
impression. They're not critically thinking about the rest of it, or they don't have the frame of reference. And I mean, it's modern media.
I mean,
There's
the
nothing
nerds
in
that
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 show
I'm
that's
talking
different than
to,
modern media right now, unfortunately.
the nerds that I'm talking to that like this show, are also like old school. They like the old school stuff, but you know,
Are they too lost
if
in the sauce that they can't criticize something that's their darling? I'm just
um,
trying to gauge, like, because you know them, I don't.
I suppose so. I think it's just they're less particular about what constitutes Trek to them than I
Mhm.
am. And like I said, I can admit that there are definitely some things that I liked about that show, but I didn't like it as much as they did. I'll have to actually post this podcast to them and see how they respond to me
You
talking
know
about it.
what doesn't scream Trek to me?
What?
A completely incompetent captain who takes every chance she can to put her nasty feet in front of the camera, showing them up for people that have a feet fetish.
Yeah, it's not about a foot fetish, dude. Like,
I'm just saying that,
one of
like,
these people made a point about that. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm super autistic, and autistic people sit weird in chairs," and that was representative. I'm like, "All right, right
I'm like, you can say that's what you think it's about.
on."
I think
Sure,
they were
sure.
trying to grab another demographic. That's what I take away from those scenes because it
Well, I
doesn't
haven't
make
heard that
fucking
one.
sense. Now,
I haven't heard that one
if
before.
they were trying to present an autistic person, they did it poorly, in
So
my
here's
opinion.
actually what I think about them representing autistic person. I think that the photonic, right, the holographic people are sort of used as a stand-in for autistic people. I think that
I
the photonic
agree,
people are a representation of for autists. Yeah.
but I think they did it badly, is what I'm saying. That's what I come across like. If this strikes someone who has autism, they go, I feel represented. I'll go, okay, but I still don't think they did a good job. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's where I come away from it. Because while I didn't consume it, I saw enough scream or the images and enough of scenes with breakdowns because it wasn't just Angry Joe's show that I listened to. You know what I mean? Like, because I did this with Acolyte too. If the Acolyte was say 40 hours long for the season, I had
Uh-huh.
to have consumed 200 plus hours of content from very different sources breaking it down, right? It's the same
Uh-huh.
I did the same thing with Batman versus Superman. I did it with this, it just certain things I like when the when the zeitgeist descends on a show in a certain way, it intrigues me. And
Yeah, I can feel you.
I've
Sure.
consumed way more than I should. Like, if I had just watched The Acolyte and said it sucked, I don't think I would have been as well informed as that person is not as well informed as I am. Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because I consumed 5 times plus the amount of content on it,
Yeah, I never
breaking
watched The
down
Acolyte.
scenes and story things and looking at it and having different concerns and what you know what so I consumed enough that I'm not saying I know literally every single thing that happened in The Acolyte, but I know all of the high beats. I know all of the big like I know what happened in that show. If I'm missing one 5-minute scene out of all of that as a takeaway, I'm pretty sure I'm still can talk authoritatively on it. But don't trust me. You should go see it for yourself. But I'm pretty convinced that there's no way you can save that show. It was terrible. And it's good that it got canceled. I
Sure.
feel the
That
same
makes
thing
sense.
about Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Like, I'm glad I didn't get into Picard because, well, as much as I like him as an actor, the first 2
I
seasons
watched
are
Picard season
universally
1.
considered to be shit. The
No,
3rd
I watched
season is
Picard
supposed to be
season
pretty
1.
decent. Well, so
Well,
what do
it's
you
because
think?
it's a sort of a throwback to basically a lot of fan service for people that were into TNG. I think is why this third season was so good.
Yeah,
People liked
yeah,
the
yeah,
third
yeah.
season.
Because it was like a get together of the old cast.
No, I remember watching a couple of clips from the first episode of Picard. I'm like, oh, that's super on point. That sounds really good. And I watched it, and I really believed hard. I'm like, this is a good show. And then by the time it was ending, I'm like still trying to convince myself, and then I realized, no, I'm just lying to myself. I didn't like that season at all. And then I heard the second season was even worse, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck this show. I don't even want to watch season 3, even though people are saying it that's better. And I had a bunch of nerds that are like, oh, you should at least watch season 3. Season 3 is so good. And then I watched like, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes of the first episode of season 3, and I'm like, it's really still not doing
I
it for
feel
me.
like
So I
there's
had to tap out.
a prisoner's dilemma style thing going, or Stockholm syndrome. That's what I'm thinking of. Like these are people that were beaten and they don't want to admit it, but they know that the first 2 seasons were absolute horseshit.
It's like
So
watching season 8 of Game of Thrones, right? But even before season 8, that show's really started not being
I
good. So
again, the last episode I saw for Game of Thrones was the arena with wasn't that Pedro Pascal? He gets
Pedro
all
Pascal and the
yeah,
big
when he was
dude,
super
yeah,
young and like I hated everything about that because it's like he won. He totally won. And then he keeps going and going and going and then he loses and I'm like I, I don't want to watch another compelling character die. This is the core conceit of this show. If you like someone, they're gonna get murdered within 30 seconds. There's no through character. This is why I cannot enjoy Song of Ice and Fire. I don't like that style. I need people that I can follow the story through, even if it's a love hate. Like, dude,
I don't mind that.
they could have kept Joffrey alive for like 7 seasons. He could have been the viewpoint character, and I could hate every minute that he's on screen. But that dude was such a good actor. He got basically bullied out of acting and freaking
No, I
social
felt really
media.
bad
Like
about
that's
that. He did
bullshit.
such a good job in that
It's like
awful,
people
awful
can't
role.
separate the fact that the dude was just that good. But that's what I'm
No,
saying.
people
Like,
are idiots.
even if I hate that character, I would have rather see him continue. So I had a through line. And you just didn't have that. I mean, you have people who last long. Like, who was the duelist Targaryen that lost his hand? Jamie. Not
Jamie
Targaryen.
lasted
Lannister.
until the very
Lannister.
last
Oh God.
episode.
I would about to get flamed by the internet. It's a Lannister, you dumbass. Brain, I'm talking.
Yeah, Lannister. I know what you're talking about. It's
Like,
fine.
I mean, there are people who last a while. Don't get me wrong, but they're not the viewpoint character. They're a character in the show that sometimes is the focal of a scene. There's a difference, right? Like,
So House of the Dragon had this problem. The first season was good, and then the second season they kind of started separating from GRRM, and they started
mhm.
doing their own thing, and it wasn't as good. But honestly, the first season of the latest one, which is the Duncan Egg, did you read the Duncan Egg books?
No, no, no. I haven't read any of this stuff. I've talked to Mal a few times on Song of Ice and Fire just
Okay.
to see how much it's with the subject matter. We've bantered this point, and my takeaway is I don't. I don't like George R. Martin as an author, not as a like this has nothing to do with him
Jar
personally.
Jar R. Martin, that's what you
George
call
R.
him?
R. Martin,
Oh, I
Jimmy
thought you said
Bob
Jar
R. R.
Jar, like he's being ridiculous.
George
That's
Jar Jar Martin. Oh, that's
yeah.
hilarious. I'm
That's
not
what I thought you said.
that would be a hilarious image to put on the freaking Ramblecast thumbnail, but I'm not going to do that. That's too much effort for me.
I
But
mean, we've been talking about non-game related shit for a while. Hopefully, people are following us here. So,
actually, I was before we segued into Game of Thrones. I was gonna tie it back to the game industry actually. So no, seriously,
feel
it makes
free to
sense
do
because
it.
again, like I said, I mandate that Hollywood and the game industry. There's too many people in Hollywood who want, or sorry, in games industry who want to be part of Hollywood, even though Hollywood's falling apart. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of people who were too terrible to be writers in Hollywood, and that's a really low bar in my opinion these days.
Uh-huh.
That couldn't get hired there or weren't able to make it, and so they fled to the game industry. Hence, this is why we got things like, oh my god, the last Dragon Age game, Veilguard, which is some of the worst media
Oh
I've
god, I
ever
loved
seen.
Origin so much too. It's such
Origins
a
was
good game.
great, and it went downhill from there. Um, this is too much for anyone to do, but I truly think the very end of Inquisition had an amazing reveal that they follow up in the Dread
Yeah.
Wolf. That's basically part of the core main story of Veilguard, but it's not the main story that's the problem. It's all of the self-inserts of the terrible writers that have all been fired from EA now. Like, if you look at it, everyone who's on the writing team of Veilguard has been let loose from EA. They purged. They didn't necessarily purge everyone from the
Uh-huh.
Dragon Age team. Some of them have gone over to work on the next Mass Effect, but they literally summarily executed everyone. And this is a bigger problem in AAA industry in general. Like, and it's part of unfortunately, it's part of the whole woke, anti-woke debate. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but there are people that have these narratives they want to push, and they were okay with making a shitty product so they could push their message. And I think Veilguard is one of the good poster childs to us. There's a very small game called Dustborn or something was also caught up in all this. I'm trying to be on the verge of this debate without going down that rabbit hole because I don't think either of us want to talk woke anti-woke today. That's a big can of worms, and I am not prepped for it. But what I'm saying is that there's these people that weren't good writers, but they got a job at the height. A lot of this stuff came out like during the COVID boom, where there was so much free money and investment in video games, which did not translate to successful products for the most part. A lot of these people got hired because they thought like this kind of woke message that, again, Hollywood being a very traditional, very kind of very liberal area that's in a bubble, like they don't listen. There's not a lot of internal opposing critique there. Um, kind of permeated into a lot of games, and people thought like these messages, like inclusivity, are very important to people. Uh, and I would argue inclusivity is important to a lot of people, not everyone. But when you cram characters like Tosh down people's throat who are pretty much universally reviled, and it's fairly clear that that was probably some intolerable asshole writer writing about themselves and three other people who identify with it, unfortunately, it turns everyone off.
I mean, the way that I see it, right? People like to see themselves in games and the way that they relate to people in games, and I think that's good. But I do feel like it's a problem if you're not really putting the writing first
Yeah,
and the
if people
characters
find the
first.
character hated, aka this is the link line. Oh, Joffrey, right?
Uh huh.
The dude who did that job, who played Joffrey, amazing job, A plus plus. Would love to interview and hang out with that dude
Uh
and
huh.
see where he is today. I know he's not in the industry, or at least not in the front facing, right? But like,
Hmm.
mad props to that dude all day long. I'm sorry what happened to him, but it wasn't because he
No,
wasn't.
it's a pretty sad story,
There
really. Yeah.
was kind of a good written character and also acted by someone who was definitely very talented. And I'm sorry, I don't think there's very many people who would defend the acting and or writing of Tosh. Having people who are insufferable or disliked in a product is fine. But typically, that's not how you approach like the core companions that you're supposed to spend an adventure with. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can have an asshole who hangs out with you, but typically they find you get some type of redeeming value or something. Like, it's just you don't just bang someone over the head with insufferable assholes. To me, it read of no, this is a writer who thinks this is a very identifiable and respected character because it
You
probably
just need to
reflects
write
some
a
of their
good,
personality.
compelling character, and you need
Yes,
to write
but
people
but I'm
with
saying whoever wrote that
flaws
probably
and
wasn't a very was one not a good writer and was probably an insufferable person. That's what I take away from it.
I mean, regardless, so this is actually how I feel about comedians too, right?
Sure.
There's a lot of people who are saying, "Oh, there's death of comedy. People can't joke about things anymore." I don't think that's true. I think if you are a good enough comedian that's very funny, really no topic is off. You know, you can joke
You
about absolutely anything, but you've got to be very, very, very funny. And it's the same thing for
you also
writing.
have a long road to hoe or long road to hoe. That's the expression, right? I think I got that right. Anyway,
I mean, there are a lot of comedians that talk about very taboo things.
but it's separated into two categories. It's the old guard who are grandfathered in and people who have done the work to build a base so they have some walls where they've gotten enough respect and whatnot that they're building to where they can do that. Um,
I
uh,
don't think it's as necessary as you think it is. I think if you are funny and you're fresh and you're new, you can still build that. You just still have to be very funny.
yes, but what I'm
Um,
saying is I don't think you can do it day one. You have to build to it. Like I'm not saying you have to be completely safe. I'm not saying you have to be a G-rated comedian. I'm just saying you have to build like you don't make extremely racial jokes day one. You have to get more of an audience on your side first, but you hint at you're willing to be edgy, but you have to do it with think acknowledgement every step of the way. I just don't think you can be like Richard Pryor these days. I don't think you can start that way. I don't think you'll get off the ground more than a niche.
I think if
You'll
you're
get
funny enough,
pigeonholed.
it doesn't matter personally.
I think that's what I want it to be, but I don't think that's how it is these days. And also, stand up comedy has basically fractured. Most stand up comedians don't even do stand up comedy anymore. They do podcasts. The
I
old
mean, I
guard, anyway.
disagree with that. There are everybody
Other
that is stand-up
comedians
community
have
that
their
does that.
niches on YouTube or whatever, where they film. Now, that said, a YouTube niche, which people would mock previously, there have been plenty of music acts, which I think is the analogous thing here, have sold out Madison Square Garden and they've never toured. They just have their audience on YouTube that they've been beaming to quietly, and so they're not played on any radio or whatever. I think that's kind of what's happened to stand-up comedy. It's just not the same thing it was back in the day of Comedy Central, where
I
like
disagree. I think it's not as different as you think that it is. I think there are still many stand-up comedians that do good funny stand-up comedy, that do push boundaries in a funny way, that are nuanced and make interesting points, and I still do think that there's a lot of that,
I'm not saying that
but
there's none of that. What I'm saying is it's so fractured and it's easy to never come across them. And the case in point here, which to me proves what I'm saying that we can both see is Josh Johnson. If you had not sent me a clip of his, I never would have ever run across him. Period. End of story. Because I'm not looking for stand-up comedy like that anymore.
yeah, I pay attention to a lot of it's kind of my
I've fallen off
thing that I focus on.
because of what's
Yeah.
happened to the stand-up comedy industry. But that's not me saying I'm not interested in stand-up anymore. Far from it. Josh Johnson is the proof. He shows me that the stand-up comedy is alive and well. I recommend him to anyone.
And that's just one
He
comedian,
was my
right?
voice and insight into the rap community with the beef between Drake and Kendrick
Yeah,
Lamar.
what's his
I
name?
am
Yeah.
not in that scene whatsoever. Now, Nose did give me a little bit of conversation on it because he is aware of that world. I am not. It's just not my genre. Um,
Yeah, you've
uh,
never been a big fan of rap in
but
general,
then
so
Josh Johnson does like what 2, 3 bits on this as that as that drama just continued, and, like, I learned way more about the rap community than I
Yeah.
ever had from that. It was a great primer. Is it enough? No. Was it all serious? No. He's doing a comedy bit. But the amount of information, like, he's a fantastic person at taking topical events and presenting them in a humorous form for consumption and giving you enough so you can go, high level, I understand about this thing now. If I really want to know, I have enough to know what I can actually go look for and consume this topic further. So,
Sure.
I mean, like, I agree with you. There is good stand up comedy still. What I'm saying is it's just harder to find because it's so fractured because of the so many different places you can find it. And unless you're basically hunting and you're consuming, I don't know, a podcast or something about stand-up comedy, some gateway into there to point you in a direction to go find up and coming people. I think it's really easy just to not know anything about stand-up comedy now. Whereas before, when we were growing up, you could just go to Comedy Central and there's plenty of specials. Was it everybody? No, but it was enough to go like, I kind of know what stand-up comedy scene is like now. And then
Well,
from
there's
there you can
that.
go find the HBO specials and blah. And are there HBO specials still? Yeah. But is even HBO as relevant as it used to be? I would submit no, right?
There's that radio station, I don't know if you listen to here, right? We live in the same city, where you can listen to stand-up comedy. I usually do that because they repeat far fewer than radio that's playing the same, because Clear Channel owns most every radio station now. They coordinate all that shit.
Yeah,
It's harder to find new, interesting music
that's
on the
also part of the
radio.
problem.
Well, it's just consolidation. The
Yeah,
conglomerates continue to amass more power. I mean, really, we're in a second Gilded Age, but that's a conversation
you
for
and I
another
agree there. That is a very
day.
separate topic, which I could go
Yeah,
on at some point. I think the AI bubble that you refuse to accept is a bubble. Yes,
I'm
I'm
still
putting
not
words in.
convinced about that.
I know
Yeah,
we need to have a conversation, but I actually have to. That's not a ramble. That's a debate where I need to go through a bunch of these different things and get the laundry list of little factoids I know that I've been consuming that make me
yeah,
think
sure.
where I land on that. But that is that is but that's the only way we do that. And that's not a Jaden is drunk or not, you're not really drunk, but you know what I mean. That is a we need to be lucid so that we can debate back and forth. Like, and you should probably do a little bit of research on your own as well
Oh, I can
ahead
have
of
very
time.
lucid conversations
Yeah.
after I've had 3 drinks now.
But
I'm about
you
to have my
understand what
fourth.
I'm saying. Like that is a
Yeah.
I want to get into that at some point. I really do. And, I'm honestly I'd be happy if the bubble busted and then I go, haha, I'm right. And that's the end of it. And then we go on to other topics in a future episode. But
I mean, I'm perfectly happy being wrong. Honestly, this is
yeah,
something I would not mind being wrong about, but
I
I think
have
there's
never
enough
done
value add. I think
I've
there's
never
enough value add in what AI does, enough now to where that is going to continue for the foreseeable future. Yeah.
no disagreement. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Like I said, I need to prepare for it like it's a serious debate though. So I have my sources and the verb and and like the you see what I'm saying, like I need to be able to present a bunch of those, and I
Eh,
think I could change your
sure.
mind to where like you may not say it's busted, but I guarantee you that if I presented enough of those, you go, okay,
Okay.
I see where your concern is. It's something I want to do, but that's a lot. Like I need to spend a week preparing
I
it,
mean, I'm
right?
not so arrogant that I hate being wrong. Like I always like to hear new facts, and if it's like
Yeah.
the real thing, I'm happy to change my mind. I'm not
Yeah. But I
certainly
just feel like
infallible.
that's something that I would like because it's near and dear to my heart and I have a lot of thoughts on it. Like I want to do it right. And we've had back and forth and you're like, "Yeah, but that doesn't really mean enough to me." Like I'm like, "Fair," because I've never really done that effort. I just think I need to do that. And I think I could convince you, which is why I think it's compelling for a different for like a different day. I am not ready to do that today. 'Cause that
No, I
would be a
feel you.
conversation, like, in and of itself, and then we need to find some, like, fart humor or something to transition to
Well,
because it's a heavy
we've
topic.
already completely diverged within the last 45 minutes on stuff we never intended to talk about in the
That's
first
why it's
place.
a ramble, man.
Well, that is why it's a ramble. But I don't prepare for any of this stuff. I just talk out of my ass like I generally do in real life, and
I think that that's makes for a better conversation in this thing. Like, the whole intent of these was it's 2 friends and, Zay was around beginning, she had a computer crash, she was listening in. I invited
yeah.
her to, like, pop in if she had, like, an opinion, but she's like, "I don't wanna disturb you." I'm like, "I get it, that's fine." But I intended like it's not necessarily have to be just us. It doesn't have to be just us two. These could be with, whoever. and Zay and I have done plenty of, like, mini rambles as part of, like, just whatever video we've done. My happy day was when I got Nose to basically talk on the Pokemon patents. That's a topic I have on here, not for today. But that we could
That's
we
something I
it's
know very little about.
it's
Yeah.
it's a very it's a very short discussion between us 2. Nose is passionate about Pokemon, which is why I was happy when I could get him to be the one ranting for a little bit, and then I
Sure,
could
sure.
I could live off that. But the whole intent of the Ramble formula is like, so we do like, we do a podcast where we choose a couple topics and then we go wherever. I think it feels more honest that way. Now, if you were looking for all of the information on a topic, you ain't gonna get that here because traditionally it's us like, I'll quote you things as best I can, going, I remember from this video, I saw this thing. Here's my experience on it, blah, and I'll do that. But the whole point of these rambles is like it's two friends over beer and pretzels, right? Just bullshitting. Um, I just feel like I have to be much more leveled up in my preparing an argument if I'm gonna convince you on the AI front, and I think it's a worthy cause. I
Oh, I mean,
just
I
it's
agree.
just
Like
that's a totally separate day.
you should bring your A game if that's what you're gonna
Yeah.
try to do.
I should honestly, I
Um,
should have been recording a bunch of this shit already, but, whatever.
it's fine. I mean, I think this
I
is the
didn't do it.
second ramble we've done on your new channel, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, if you want to transition, I mean, we did talk about the death of AAA games journalism. We didn't touch on a bunch other than saying, IGN sucks, and they keep putting out really tone deaf, articles, and that's
Well,
fine.
that's true.
That was the
Are you gonna
what no, what's that?
are you gonna do like chapter markers here? That might be good because we have diverged quite a bit.
Uh,
Might not be the worst idea.
I could, if they get auto-generated by YouTube, absolutely.
They
Uh,
don't get auto generated. You're gonna have to listen through when we start talking about this. It's
oh,
as far as I know.
well, it's gonna be a ramble.
Well, more people watched your other ramble than I expected. I mean, I know you're new to the channel, so you've got
Yeah.
like 2 people watching you, but I think that got like 15. That's pretty good for some random
Yeah,
couple
man,
of
I mean,
nerds talking about shit. So
that's my hope. I mean, I mean, everything I plan to do is gonna be about the games industry, in some portion or at least nerdy enough that it'll likely either relate to the game industry or to our kind of nerdy hobbies, right? Like, I mean, I will defer to you on all things musical. I know that I am not Connor CVA or whatever his full name is. Um, he calls music bit boops and beeps, and I'm like, no, no, music's more than that. But music in games is not terribly important to me. I think it can make a game. And that was kind of a side tangent. That's a completely separate topic, not for today. But talking about mixtape specifically, we avoided it on the IG. Well, not avoided. We didn't talk about it during the IGN and games journalism section, but they gave it a 10 out of 10. There's no way it's a 10 out of 10 game. More discussion than that we can have at some other point. Um,
I mean, I do think, well, you know how I feel about
but
video game soundtracks, how
it,
important that is to me. So
uh,
yeah.
uh, mixtape is basically a glorified playlist that also has some themes playing out in front of you, and your interactivity is not important. So if you really like the nostalgia trip of the very loose, very basic story that's going on, and you really like the music, you'll have a really good time. The music was really important to him. It's why the game costs $20 when it's like a 3 hour, barely, visual novel slash walking simulator game.
It's rare that I spend that
So
much money for the ratio of dollars to playtime,
yes.
right?
Same,
Yeah.
same. I'm not saying it's a 2 out of 10. Legendary Drops hated it, and he had another stream where he talked a little bit more about why, and it's because he picks it apart. Like, one of the things they did is it's called mixtape after, the old tapes that we remember from our youth, right?
Yeah,
But they
I made
couldn't
some
even be
mixtapes too.
bothered to make the mixtape actually functional. Like, it doesn't have the holes in the right place. Like,
See,
there's
I don't
no
know anything about that. I don't. That's
This is
interesting.
just one of his arguments, which I found kind of hilarious. It's like, okay, like I understand why he's very critical of it for a lot of things. To me, it's a glorified Spotify playlist that if I already had Spotify or whatever, choose your online music source, I could go listen to these songs on my own. I don't need to play $20 for a
Sure, sure,
fairly
sure.
meh story that may or may not trigger me, right? Like, I'm not weighing in. I didn't play it. I'm not spending $20 for 4 hours of gameplay. It's not happening. So like I'm outside that part of the debate. I just found it hilarious that like this is the first 10 out of 10 that IGN gave anything uh in like since like Baldur's Gate 3 and Elden Ring. And I'm like
Right.
there I there is no world where that makes sense, right?
That's
Like
really
it's
interesting.
just there
Fuck
is
Elden
no
Ring,
world.
by the way, but that's another topic.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about Dark Souls. Some fun. My buddy from New Jersey that I still chat with, he's coming around. He's played some Elden Ring. He
Well, and
was
I
on the
remember
same
Nose
side as
giving
us,
me
but
shit about it. He's just like, "Oh yeah, you don't like Elden Ring because you fucking suck." Like, yeah, like okay, dude.
yeah, but it wasn't done in mean spirited. It was just
No,
he
we're
was just
buddies,
trash
right? He
talking.
was just
Yeah, yeah,
fucking with me. He was just joking, so which is funny. I laughed, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
We'll
I'm
keep
not.
that topic for later. There is another topic
Yeah,
we can talk about today if you want, or you can
let's
continue your
hear it.
thought. I apologize. I
No, no,
didn't
no.
mean to
We
cut you
can we
off.
can start with something new. Let's go for it.
Okay, so the other big topic we had for today, uh, was GTA 6 and the hype around it. And I have a few different thoughts on that I haven't really fully formulated. I mean, my my buddy, I'm going to call him Ambridge, to
Yeah, I know who
to
you're talking
replace the
about.
names. You know who I'm talking about from New Jersey. We've talked about this incessantly, and I am most certainly in the minority here, and I'll
Uh-huh.
happily wax poetic on a bunch of different things on it later. But first, I just wanted to say I think GTA 6 is way overhyped. Think it's going to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
I the There's been a couple videos that have come out that estimate that its true development cost is something like 3.7 billion.
I'm not surprised.
They haven't officially formally announced anything. This is some people analyzing their books and taking some very wild guesses on things. Like, so it might not be 3.7. Maybe it's only 3. But I'm just saying it's well above $1 billion. And that makes it the most expensive game ever made. And if we look at the profit of GTA 5 and some of the leaks that came out, like they're making ludicrous money on that to this day. No game has sold as much as GTA 5. I fully acknowledge that.
Is it
And
even more than that one quote unquote quadruple A game?
oh, fuck Ubisoft. Yeah.
I can't remember how much that one cost.
Nowhere near this. Although I don't the Beyond Good and Evil remake, I don't know how much that's up to. I mean, that's been in development for like 15 years. They
I mean,
keep
that
saying
was
it's
like a black and white spiritual successor, right? Is that what we're talking about? The Peter Molyneux game?
oh, well, I'm thinking about Ubisoft games. Beyond Good and Evil
Oh, maybe I'm
was
thinking of something
a
else. Okay,
space-ish game. I never played the original, to be fair. But it's definitely like a spacefaring thing, and they showed off some tech eons ago where like some native being able to fly in and out of up and down out of orbit and stuff, stuff like you can see in like Star Citizen
sure.
or Horizon, but it's very narrative. I don't know if it was a point and click adventure before. Like I just don't know enough about Beyond Good and Evil other than people loved the original. And then they were like, "We're making another one." And it's been in development for like 15 fucking years. I don't think that's the one that has been labeled as quadruple A. I can't remember what Yves Guillemot said. Which one was specifically the one he called a quadruple A? Oh, that was Skull and Bones. Yeah, that was Skull and
Yeah,
Bones.
that's what it
No,
was. Yeah,
Skull and
yeah.
Bones was not $1 billion. And it was heavily subsidized by the Philippines government. They had to have a studio in the Philippines who was not prepared to make a game at that like of that scale or anything. They took a lot of grants, and I'm firmly convinced that's the only reason it ever came out. It is not a quadruple A. Now that said, Nose and Zay have played it recently, and they had some fun with it. So it's not an absolute terrible game.
That's what
Um,
I read about it when they were talking about that.
there were
But
people even back then that said, I think it was really keen to pan on or to dunk on it because it was really easy because
right,
it
right.
did a lot. I'm not saying it's a great game. What I'm saying is it's probably a solid 7 out of 10, like most Ubisoft games. It's an eminently
Mhm.
playable. I've enjoyed most of their Assassin's Creed, the modern ones, but I picked them up on deep, 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 deep sale. Like for $20, I Odyssey is an amazing game. If I paid full price for that, I'd have a very different opinion on it. So that's just them. I can't think of anyone else who called something a quadruple A game though. Everything sources from Ubisoft in my brain.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Peter Molyneux, who is the overhype man extreme. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he made a comment to that. He is making a spiritual successor, now that I'm thinking about it, to Black and White, I believe. I believe
Yeah,
that is
that's what
his
I
new
thought
game.
that that game was, but I must be thinking of a different.
Oh,
I don't
I
know.
mean,
I might check that out. Black and White was interesting back in the day.
I mean, he, there's things. I mean, I don't
Populous was good.
I
You
don't
ever play
love
Populous?
Fable, but I think Fables are solid 7 out of 10s, and the Fable fanboys will come and kill me for that.
Fable was fun. I wouldn't say Fable was great, but it was a good. It was a
I
solid
called it
game.
that's why I called it a solid 7 out of 10, and when I say that, I kinda mean it by the IGN scale, which is a joke, and no
Okay.
one takes it. I say it sarcastically, but, like, there are games that are just mid to okay, and that's not a knock. Not every game is going to be the story of Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, if I was gonna say the controls of Red Dead Redemption 2, I'd call it a 2 out of 10. Um,
No, for sure. I mean,
but,
I just
like
played Space Marine 2, and that was a solid, good game that I enjoyed. That I played
yeah,
through to the ends. I
I say
wouldn't say it's incredible, but it was very. It was a fun game. It was good.
yeah, well, I mean, like, and I talk about action movies, right? Like, back in the day, I don't go to the theaters anymore, but back in the day, pre-COVID, I went to the movies all the freaking time, and we watched so many action movies in the theaters, so many that were not worth going to the theater for. I just enjoyed action movies. It's just I've disengaged that hobby as time has gone on, right?
Yeah,
The COVID shutdown started it, and then once I wasn't doing it anymore, I no longer felt the need to go do that. I
sure,
found other ways to spend my hobby budget, I guess is the way I would say it. But
sure.
like, so an average product or a just okay product can still have fun. There are terrible games that do something well. They might not be worth playing for that one thing they do well, but from a critical aspect,
Right.
even
If
the
you're into
worst,
that
there,
particular mechanic
there could
or
be something you
something,
get from it, right?
sure, sure, sure,
So when I say that, it's like I think I've offered if Zay and Nose ever go back to play Skull and Bones, I'll probably jump in and play some because it's not super expensive at this point. Um,
I
and
can't imagine it would
they
be.
have a new patch update that was supposed to add actual off the ship fighting and whatnot. That's supposed to be coming sometime this year, next year, or something. I'm like, oh, you mean you'll actually have the full range of what a pirate game is supposed to have? Not just ship combat, and then your crew does everything in a cutscene where they run off the ship and plunder stuff. You mean you'll actually get to involve in, like, some swordplay and stuff? Oh, that actually sounds interesting. You know what I mean?
I don't
Like
know. There's so many shitty pirate games out there. Really, the two that are getting good are the remake of Sid Meier's Pirates from like the early 2000s. That was
sure.
really good, and then Black Flag was incredible. Like, say what you will about Assassin's Creed, and honestly, once they started going to the RPG, thing over the like action thing, they really lost me.
So
But Black Flag was incredible.
it's not quite the same, but it's in the same spirit. Assassin's Creed Odyssey has trireme combat, or slightly bigger than a trireme. I mean, you
I don't
kinda
even think they actually did like
yeah,
naval combat when
yeah.
triremes were a thing
Well,
so
I mean, it's
much.
like you can, like, throw spears at the other ship. I'm just saying it's not the age of piracy, right? But
Clearly.
it is a naval combat simulation that was fairly enjoyable. That's all I'm trying to get
Do you get to
across.
spray Greek fire all over the other ship? Probably.
Yeah, you get there's some fire attacks in it from what I remember. Now, to be
Well,
fair,
because Greek fire, that was an interesting thing from history,
I
right?
played it like
That was
4
something
years
that they
ago.
did
I mean, it's very
back in the day.
RPG focused, right? Like, you get
Yeah, that's the
upgrades,
thing is I don't want to
but
play RPG style
I
Assassin's Creed
understand.
games.
I'm
I played it since the very beginning, which I thought it was in the very first Assassin's Creed was very interesting because it's like, oh,
I
you're a
played
Muslim guy that's an Ocker that's fighting against the Templar Christian invaders. That sounds interesting,
I
because that's not something you would normally see in a game from the time, right?
I played the first one, some of
Yeah.
it. I watched Zay play the second and third one, some of it.
Uh huh.
Zay played Origins, I played Odyssey and Valhalla.
Okay.
I love Odyssey. I I even love the
I never played
new
it.
age wackadoodle meta plot. It is absolutely wackadoodle. It
Okay.
makes no sense. I'm not saying that it's on its own it stands. It does tie into some of the stuff that you saw back in the day before they killed off Desmond. And they kind of went in a different direction because the girl who was part of the modern day stuff want her contract renewed and she wanted too much money. And so instead they decided to screw over their franchise by basically writing off part of the storyline. And that basically killed the meta narrative that was the whole reason these games existed. And then they decided
No,
because
the
they were
Desmond
releasing,
thing was disappointing. It
yeah,
was
and
very
then I'm
disappointing.
just that's I've learned that in the history, like from discussions, that that's actually what caused it. I don't remember her name, but the one, but you know the girl I'm talking about. She was the like, she did a good job, and because of that, they basically cut off their nose to spite their face, right? And so then you had a bunch of games that had no reason to exist, like without the meta narrative. What is the point of these games? And I think that made it really easy to transition, and people were complaining because they were releasing them nonstop. They didn't give any room to breathe, which also suffers with quality to some extent, right? I'm not saying they're all bad. Um, I don't think Revolutionary War one makes much sense to me, but sounds like it
I
had one
played
of,
that one. It
it
was
sounds like
okay.
it
It wasn't
has one of the
great.
coolest DLCs ever with the Tyrant of, I can't remember what it's called, but basically George Washington is the bad guy. And that sounds really compelling to me. But I like
That
all of
sounds
these games
interesting.
are opaque to me. I didn't play like I didn't play them. I didn't play Black Flag, right? You know what I mean? Like because after seeing the first one and then they
It's
had the second and
unfortunate.
third, Zay played a bunch of them. I didn't care anymore. Do you know what I
Black
mean?
Flag. So we're talking about my music nerd shit. Black
Yeah.
Flag had a nice selection of very old school, very traditionally accurate sea shanties,
Yes.
which
And
I really liked.
I've heard a few because Luke Stevens plays them along with his AI music at the start of his streams. Johnny
Okay.
Lever, I don't know what it's called, but that's the refrain.
Yeah, Johnny Lever is a
He
good
plays that
one.
one
I
all the
always liked
time.
Lowlands Away. That was my favorites. But
Yeah, I can't name any of the other ones. That's just the one that sticks out of my head.
there
But
was a bunch
anyway,
of good ones on there.
we
But
we went into quadruple A. So I wanted to talk. The whole point was to talk GTA
we haven't
6
even talked about
because we
GTA
didn't.
6.
I figured I like us rambling, but I'm like, you know what? We're gonna keep going in a
If
direction.
you want to keep everything wrangled in, it's
We
your
should probably actually
it's
talk about it
it's your
and then get
fucking
your.
podcast. Like that's fine.
I'm wrangling it in the lightest sense. I mean, yes, I am hard wrangling here, but I like us talking. I mean, I loved the Star Wars, Star Trek digression. You're probably going to see Star Wars and Star Trek suck question mark on the screen as part of the image for the thumbnail. Just so you know.
I mean,
Even
I've had
that's
enough
such a
drinks.
minor thing compared to everything else we talked
I
about.
almost wanted to keep talking about that too. Why is Star Trek so much better than Star Wars? But I will abstain from that conversation. Let's
I can't
continue
fight
on.
you because I think they both suck
Oh, I
today.
mean,
Anyway, that's by today's standards. I mean,
God damn
but
it,
anyway,
Titharis.
it's my job. I'm baiting you. But anyway, GTA 6. So my core conceit is I just everyone is super scared of it. And I understand to an extent that like it's going to sell more copies than God compared to any other game.
Oh,
I
I'm sure it'll
understand
sell a
why
lot.
AAA is so scared of it, but I'm also not going to buy it. Red Dead Redemption 2 may be the last game I buy from Rockstar outside of them doing something really crazy. I liked I liked Red Dead 2 story,
Yeah, it was
but
a good game
but
in
I
general.
absolutely hated those controls. And these controls have been dog shit in their games for
I
games
don't know
and
why it's such a big
years
deal for you. Like it seems fine.
because no. Red Dead Redemption 2's controls are absolutely. I wanted to rage quit and throw my controller about across the room for so many times
It's really weird.
until I got used to it. And I'm not the only one. Ambridge agrees with me. I know there's gonna be, I mean, again, I know I'm in the minority. I like the game, but I'm saying I like the game despite the controls. And
Okay.
it's just because they haven't put much effort into the controls because their efforts are everywhere else. And I can't deny that what they've released on GTA 6 doesn't look pretty, doesn't look graphically impressive, but I don't give a fuck about that. It doesn't matter. The gameplay is all that matters. And to me, their obsession with simulation, like who the fuck cares? There's someone had nothing better to do, so they modeled horse testicles in freaking cold weather. I never noticed it in game, but but it was made into a big story because they spent so much time and effort. Like, okay, cool. I'm glad that you were able to put this quote unquote realism, but I've also learned over time that realism doesn't matter to me the same way as some people do. Like I
I mean, I like it
all
more than you do.
you do. Like you can tolerate parts of Kingdom Come Deliverance more than I
Oh my
can.
god,
It
Kingdom
drives
Some
me
Come such a good game. Like
I
you haven't
agree.
played the second one yet, have you?
It is installed on my computer and I need to play it at some point. I just haven't done it yet.
I have the same thing as you do with Claire Obscure because I know that it's going to be a JRPG. I know it's going to have more grind than I would like, but the story is supposed to be really good. The soundtrack's supposed to be really good. I just
Yeah.
haven't been able to muster
It, it's
starting to play it
it's
just
Dark
yet.
Souls mixed with a JRPG. I honestly think you should play it on easy and it will still be frustrating at
Probably.
parts and skip. Don't do all of the third act stuff if you don't want to. Just go to the end because I think you can beat the whole game in probably 20 hours. Not you
I just want to.
specifically, the global you, if they skipped a bunch of stuff, the ending's going to be really freaking hard, but if you're playing it on easy, you'll probably be fine.
All I
Um,
want to do is play enough to get through what's supposed to be an incredibly good story, very good writing. You know how much I like good writing. You know,
I think it's good. I don't think it's amazing. Like, I'm not gonna
really.
put it on the level of Baldur's Gate 3 with the sheer diversity of,
I mean, that is good writing too.
of different choices. Like, they did but it's because they put so much time into it, and that also cycles with GTA, that they have a 1,700 person studio in India that they basically pay nothing to, who are helping make all of these amazing animations in GTA 6. I know I segued there, but it's part of the same thing. Um,
It's understandable. I
they
mean,
like I just everything around GTA 6 to me, I it's a game of a generation because of GTA 5, because of Red Dead Redemption 2. They have a pedigree. Do you know what I'm saying?
they do.
And I think and the game itself, the single player isn't where they're gonna make all their money. The reason it's still set GTA 5 is still making selling copies today is because of the online mode, which isn't launching with the base game. That's gonna be 6 months, a year, whatever later. My understanding is that GTA 5's PC launch wasn't for 18 months later, so they're gonna double dip. They want people to buy consoles and and play on consoles, and then they're hoping the fanatical people, whenever they release probably PC and the multiplayer together, they're hoping people will buy another copy of the game, right? They're hoping for this
Uh-huh.
type of stuff, and I just even if it makes back its 3.7 billion cost or whatever, I still think it's overhyped. Like, it could be a great game. I've heard good things about GTA 5. I did not play it. People really love that crazy character, one of the 3 people you can play. That crazy guy who does there's like an infamous torture scene and all sorts of crazy shit he does. Whatever. I don't understand why everyone is so afraid. Like, there will be zeitgeist and there will be and there will be, as long as it's good, there's gonna be coverage of it in the media, sure. But like, I'm not buying another 70, $80 game around that time. Uh, if GTA 6 launches the same day as Schedule 1 releases a new big patch, I don't think he'll do it. But if he did, I'm more likely to be playing Schedule 1. Like, and I think in today's economy, with how expensive stuff is and how people are having a lot less money going around, I don't think it's gonna sell as fast as people think, even
I
if it
guess
makes its
time will
money
tell.
back. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that's my general conceit. I know you don't care about it. I've just been watching as the industry they've like last year we had a dearth of games because of the original or the delay, the last delay. I think it was last year, whatever it was. Like whenever their last delay was, I think it was like in a May or something, they were supposed to release, and they announced they weren't. But everyone had already moved out of that time slot. All the big AAAs had moved. So there was basically a lack of AAA games around that time. It's been announced, I guess, this week. Like they're going to full force, like November 18th, 19th, something like that, I think is when GTA 6 is going to launch. And I'm like, okay. And I'm watching as like, once again, the AAA industry is just deathly afraid of it. And then at the same time that they're saying that, they're also saying, hey guys, it's sorry, my brain just went.
It
Um,
happens. Maybe
oh
you should
right.
have a shot too.
No, I got my soda here. My brain has engaged. You've got freaking not Wells Fargo, Bank of America releasing a statement saying, no, they really should upgrade. They really should increase their price to $80-$90 because then everyone else will be able to charge $80-$90. And I'm like, you guys are fucking morons because no, we've already seen it like with the change from $60 to $70, and then things like Nintendo having the audacity to charge $80 for the last Mario Kart, which everyone has said is it's okay. It's not great, but of course you could get it in a bundle where it wasn't that much. But like standalone, it cost $80. Once all those Nintendo 2 Switch or the Switch 2s are sold, that bundle, then you have to charge way more. I think people with the rising costs of everything, people have gotten more picky. And the more people charge for video games, the more they expect from it. I mean, with the sheer amount of people and time that they've spent on GTA 6, it better be one of the most impressive video games looking that have ever released. And I think they could get away with probably selling it for $100. But the first dumbass in Activision goes, we're gonna sell Diablo 5 for $120. They're gonna watch as they lose all profit possibility because there's no way in hell AAA is capable of putting the quality in that people are going to expect for that as a raw price. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway, I know I've rambled a few different topics, but like, what are your thoughts on GTA 6 in general? Like, what I've kind of ruminated on, or any other topic. And if you don't have anything, we'll wander off to something
No, I
else.
mean I can say some shit about it. So I don't know. I don't know when was the first GTA game you ever played anyway back in the day?
San Andreas? Vice City? Which one of those was first?
Vice City was before San
I
Andreas.
played them both. But I didn't play any of I think it was the first two, which were top down.
Well, the first two was shareware back in the day when Rockstar was a very tiny, shitty shareware studio. Back in the day, for people that don't know, I would imagine that probably most people that watch us are going to be old fuckers like us.
Yeah.
But in the case that you're not, right? Back in the day, shareware games were considered sort of beneath regular release games, right? And shareware was an old
Except for
model.
Doom. But
Sure,
continue.
but even still, I don't know, shareware in general, like,
It popularized Doom is all I'm saying. But
it did.
I don't disagree with your conceit. I'm just saying Doom definitely used shareware to its advantage. I'm sorry. Don't derail. Continue your thought.
No, it did. So shareware games, and there were some good shareware games. Those old RPG games were a lot of fun. I mean, Duke Nukem original came out of shareware right before Duke Nukem 3D became a thing, which was a big deal. And then, of course, Duke Nukem Forever, but that's a
Yeah.
totally different thing.
That was a
Um,
terrible game that's nothing like the others. Anyway.
No, but that was one of those things that is sort of the same way that people joke about it, like Half Life 3 now,
Yeah.
right? It was
Yeah.
never actually going to come out, and then it finally came out, and it was shitty.
Yeah.
But my point is, I'm digressing here. My point is, those old games, when it came to shareware, were just kind of garbage, and for the most part, and more than they were garbage, it was just basically sort of looked a little bit less on a studio because they were releasing a game for free and begging you to pay them for it. You're like, oh, if you think this game is good, please buy it, right? And it's like if you
Yeah.
were a real studio, you would just release a game and people would buy it. That's how I thought as a dickhead teenager, right, or
And now we have
whatever.
free to
So,
play, which is probably one of the most successful models. I
oh,
mean,
and free to play
gotcha
is the
games and all those
worst. I
stuff that bring.
hate free to play games. My God, I hate them. Um, I remember you were trying to get me to play Warframe. I'm like, this is okay, but it's free. I don't know. Anytime you try to get me to play a free to play game, you are
Warframe main
malintent or
story
whatever. I
makes no
can't deal
fucking
with it.
sense, but it is absolutely amazing. But it's also super grindy and it's not your style of game.
I don't
I
like grindy, as
I
you
know.
well know. But I'm digressing. I'm supposed to be talking about GTA 6. So my point, my entire points. This has been a very rambly session, which is fine.
It
That's the whole
meets the
point of it.
name.
It meets the name. But I did play GTA 1 and 2 back when Rockstar was a shareware studio, right? And they both sucked. They were garbage games. I never played them for more than about 30, 45, maybe an hour each. I played both of them.
We
Um,
played them co-op extensively because we were poor teenagers. But continue.
they were top down. They were
Or
shitty.
sorry,
They were
not those
not
two. I
good
meant
games.
Doom and the other one.
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
So
continue.
for if you're interested in game history and you haven't played the first two GTA games, I'm sure they're very easy to find now. Go play them and go see how shitty they were. The first really good GTA game that actually was very hyped, and I think actually deserved the hype, and is actually what brought Rockstar, I think, into the scene as like a legitimate, like solid studio was GTA 3. And in GTA 3, they did have the cutscenes. They had all of the same, driving around, punching hookers and all that shit. Like they had all of that. But it was something that very different from what the first couple of games did. One interesting thing I like about GTA 3 was that your main character was mute. It was the whole silent
Yeah.
protagonist trope, like they typically do. But then it's funny because in another game in the future, I don't know if that was Chinatown or one of the other GTA games, you're actually talking about the guy that you are from GTA 3. And I think you're calling him like that mute motherfucker. Like he just can't talk. Like that's how the
I
that's how the
wouldn't be
game ended up
surprised if
seeing
that
him.
was one of the DLCs for Nico, wanna go bowling? Or something.
Yeah, that was GTA 4, I
Yeah.
believe. Which actually was very sort of taboo because you're actually driving around in a car drunk, and you're even saying in the game, oh, I shouldn't be driving around drunk. But I think the sort of conservative media at the time was just like, oh, you can't be glorifying driving around drunk. Drug driving is a big issue, all of this stuff. Like I remember that being a thing. And I like GTA 3, but the biggest one that I really liked was Vice City, being a fan of Scarface. Vice
Mhm.
City's very Scarfacey, which is great. And it had old early 80s metal, which both of my brothers listened to. I was a child of the 80s, and they were both older than I was. And so I idolized their music taste, which was nice. They had old like 80s electro. Like once they started doing really good music stations in those games and having very funny like radio ads and everything else, like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines had really funny radio ads too. I think they probably took that from that game. GTA 3. I think that was before Bloodlines. It's a whole other story. Fuck Bloodlines 2, by the way. What a garbage fucking game. But um, I'm rambling. Anyway, Vice City was good. San Andreas was very good. Being a fan of Friday and old gangster rap. I know you're not much of an old 90s gangster rap guy, but
No.
I always liked that shit. It's a nerdy white kid that was listening to that crap, right? Um, but really, the hype for GTA, my whole point of all of this rambling is the hype for GTA 6 makes sense. It is a storied IP that has done a lot of very good things for many gamers in the past. GTA 4, I think, was a little bit less interesting. Vice City was good. San Andreas was good. 5 was actually quite good. Um, the problem is, here's what I'm worried about, right? Is when your studio gets this big and you have so many different studios working on it. I think a lot of times you're losing this particular type of auteur vision, where you're trying to check all the boxes for
Yeah.
every single type of person that's going to be watching it. The problem is, if you're tuning for everyone as much as possible, then you're not making a game that's for a specific type of person. Look at we were talking about Kingdom Come Deliverance earlier. That is not a game for everyone. That's a game for a very specific type of nerd, and I love it all the more for it.
Super
Um,
tangent. Did you know they're making a Middle Earth game next, along with another Kingdom Come?
I did not know that.
That's
No,
news that broke this week. Anyway, continue.
but yeah, so and it might be very good. I am not one to shit talk something before it releases, before I've had a chance to play it. Um, so it might be very good. I'm just a little bit wary about what it might be because I'm old and I'm cynical. And you see this pattern a lot in a lot
Sure.
of industries and a lot of studios, especially when the people that originally made the really good games have all rotated out because the bean counters are now taken over and they don't care about the games. They're just trying to check all these boxes. They don't trust the people that are so passionately into the games to be like, no, I got this. This is going to be good. Right.
Yeah, well, we saw what Benzies did. Mind's Eye was a dumpster fit. And that's also a
Uh,
good point because Dan Hauser, Doug Hauser, I'm messing up his name, was
yeah.
the story guy, and he's no longer there for GTA 6. So this is the
That's
first story
unfortunate.
without him.
That's unfortunate.
So that's a good point. You know, you actually made me click a couple synapses together. I think it's because I've never held Rockstar on a pedestal ever. Um like I said, I liked Red Dead Redemption 2. I could go on a tangent. Like we've talked about some of the stuff I saw that I saw that I don't think anyone else did. You know, we've talked about like there's some neat stuff in Red Dead Redemption 2. I hate the control scheme, but that's also key. I've always hated their controls. Um First step, I'm not a great shooter carrot player. I'm not the best with action. I'm not awful, but I'm not great. I prefer turn-based stuff. And
I bet
I
you
my
do.
experience of GTA 3 and 4 was I got into the vibe a little bit. I could do a couple missions, and then the missions basically became unplayable for me because they're too fucking hard. Now, I was young at the time. I'm also not good at those style of games. So those are contributing factors, but I enjoyed them just for the vibe, like listening to the radio, doing the old classic pick up a hooker, take her to a point, and then murder her for her money, get in a car chase, inevitably fail. Cool. I walk away. And then, I play it, and then I come back to play a couple hours of nonsense later. But those games always quickly, the skill set required to play them outpaced me because I hated the controls, and I think the controls have always been that way in their games. So for
Yeah,
someone who wasn't bothered by them, was competent, uh, or had more interest in pushing through so they could experience more of those games,
sure.
maybe overall they would have a much higher thing. And key, I never played GTA 5. I've consumed a lot of GTA 5 content back in the day with Rooster Teeth from online stuff. So I respect that they did a crazy amount of stuff with that online mode, which also made them a crazy amount of money, right?
Sure.
But as amazing as GTA 5 online was, Red Dead Redemption 2 online died in a fucking fire. They didn't support it right, and I don't think it had as much wide appeal for people. I think there was people who were really looking forward to playing a cowboy, and I don't think they had the infrastructure in place, and when they saw that it didn't get interest and they saw how much gangbusters they were making on 5, they just went back to
Mm,
5. This is the same reason why they've talked about this multiple times in interviews. There was never story content editions for GTA 5 because online mode was making them such gangbusters. Now that said, um they did acknowledge how popular the GTA RP was, and they bought one of those big studios that was behind the mod that all the streamers were using for, and it's should be included in some fashion in GTA 6. I still don't understand why people enjoy playing a fucking cop and driving around for 12 hours, occasionally pulling someone over. But I mean, a Skyrim RP server launched recently and was fucking shot through the moon in popularity. So I mean, this is just a popular streamer activity. Some people eat this up and love watching the play by play. And some people get suckered into the FOMO of, like, if they don't if they don't play constantly, they feel like they're missing some of the developing story. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think online is where they're gonna make most of their money. I just it again, I can't help feeling it's overhyped. I can't help feeling that the industry as a whole has put it on a pedestal of f fear this thing as if it were God, but we
Well, I
also
heard that
wanna
GTA 5 made a lot of money off of their online multiplayer. I never played any of that shit. I
there
play
there was
games
there was
to
a
do single
okay,
player.
so hackers hacked them and threatened to release the data of that they had, and it
Uh-huh.
wasn't anything massively important to, like, it wasn't about GTA 6 or anything, but what they did end up releasing showed how much gangbusters like, they're making, like, $250 million a month or something crazy like that. That number I'm
I'm
pulling out
not
of my ass, I
surprised.
can't remember, like, still to this day off of GTA 5. And what happened after that release of those financials that should never have been gone public? Their stock went through the roof. Right? Like, because it
Well,
proves that like, I'm not saying that GTA 5 isn't the one of the most profitable video games ever made, like, I've never stopped that. I just my general conceit is, like, I just don't know how they're gonna make GTA 6 live up to that. Like, especially since we saw with, they did those ports. I think they subcontract, and that's probably part of the problem, but they, like, had a
yeah.
remake of a couple of the old games, and it was dumpster fire, like, it was they had previous older remakes, or maybe it was just the older games. I remember seeing side by sides, and it was like, "Oh my god, whoever did this was dog shit." And if that was developed in-house, possibly as a side project to train people up in the Bangalore studio, like, it wasn't good, but it also looks nothing like what they've released from the trailer so far for GTA 6. So, is it a parallel? No, I think it's a concern point. It's just you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm building up this case of, like, I was never as in love with Rockstar as they were. I give credit to one of their games, one only. That's it. I've heard good things about Bully, never played it. Um, but I mean, and Zelnick even said this in one of his recent things. Like, he's like, it could be the best selling game of all time, and it still wouldn't make its money back. He said something like that in one of his interviews. And I'm like, that's a crazy thing for the CEO to fucking say.
I mean, that sounds like some severe mismanagement on the business side if that's
Well,
really.
he's an interesting character. So, right, like, so he's against AI. He thinks it doesn't provide anything because AI is inherently derivative, which is true. And so it doesn't make sense. So he's against incorporating. It's like, go Zelnick. He's also basically said, I'm just the money guy. My goal is to hire the best people and then get out of their way and make sure they have the time to make the thing that will make us tons of money. And I'm like, for a money guy, he's like the anti Bobby Kotick. But at the same time, I don't know how much of this you've consumed, but there's all of the anti-union activity that's happened in UK. They've closed down a couple of studios. It looks like they just were very close to having the numbers they needed to start formalizing some union petitions in the UK. And then they, on very obvious, we're making this shit up bullshit excuse, fired enough people to take them under the cap so that they couldn't unionize and to scare the ever living Jesus out of those who remained so that they wouldn't continue to campaign to continue going for unionization activities. So I'm not saying Rockstar is a fantastic company or that Zelnick is a fantastic individual. He has some what I would consider outside enlightened opinions that go contrary to the AAA business model, but he's still a fucking asshole money guy at the top of an art studio or like in an art form in an art industry, right?
Well, I mean, I think that's a big problem with a lot of companies in
Yeah,
general, right?
like
You remember how Boeing got taken over by business guys, and it used to be run by engineers.
and now
Then
it's
we had that
fucked.
seven, and then we had that 737 Max incident
Yeah,
where it was like crashing the fucking plane and shit.
yeah,
Like you would not see that shit if it was a company that was run by engineers that
right,
was focusing not 100% on as many returns as possible, but like
right.
safety too.
But that's
Like,
publicly traded companies, right? Like the
Right.
current incentive in our current late stage capitalism, which we're not going to go down that rabbit hole completely. But like,
I
and I
hate
know
that
you're
term,
not
but
as, you
yes.
don't bang this drum as much as me, but I mean, like, we're at a problematic time where if we don't redo our laws and stop some of this, like, there's some major socioeconomic bullshit coming down the pipe that's gonna be a big problem for
I'm
everybody.
more economically conservative than you are, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think that companies writing their own regulations are going to be helping anyone either.
Right.
So yeah,
Right. Like, we can settle in a very in a moderate statement to say we both agree that there's a problem and that these
I think
CEO
everybody agrees that
businessmen
there's
are,
a problem
yeah.
at the moment. Yeah,
We won't go farther down like the anti-capitalist establishment setup because it's not necessary. I'm just saying,
sure.
like, in general, right? Like, Bobby Kotick is the poster child for, like, does any individual person really like him other than the people who are getting money from based on him on his asshole behavior? Like, I think there's people who just don't care. They do not care what it takes to make their game. There are people who do not care about the despicable acts that have been happening over in the UK or the stories that have come out in recent about ridiculous crunch culture at the Bangalore, India 1,700 person studio, right? That's like crunch has only been getting worse and worse and worse according to some reviews that came out on Glassdoor and whatnot. Uh, I
I mean, when I
wouldn't.
was younger, I did want to go into the games industry, and then I
Yeah,
read a lot of articles about how awful it was. It's like I'd rather have a life that was away from the my keyboard work at a company
yeah.
than work on something that I was, yeah.
Well, so
And
here's the
so
thing.
I feel like I picked the right choice. Yeah.
Here's the thing. So I can understand why people like that guy who is Jeff from the Overwatch team. I can't remember his last name. Who did a
Yeah, I know who
interview
you're,
with Lex
Kaplan.
Friedman. Kaplan. Yeah. Like, I kind of understand to an extent because, like, I've never been that passionate about work. But I'll say this, in my current streaming non-paying career currently, hey, if someone wants to support me, I'd love to do an ad even though it doesn't go to too many people right now. Um
You might
I
need to build up an audience a little bit more
this is
first.
why I'm doing the sarcasm, right? Like, it's like, but the reality is that doing these videos, doing this talk with you, like, we would do this anyways. Would it be as structured? Would I be trying to be would I be constantly thinking, I mean, when we did the old ones for fun during COVID as something as an outlet for us to do, right? Like, it wasn't for profit or anything. But what I'm saying is this doesn't feel like traditional work to me. Now, if I start streaming
That's
12
different.
hours a day, 5 days a week, that's gonna
Well,
wear
and
that would wear on
well,
me, yes, but at the end of the day, it's a different type of work. So I
it
understand
is.
why what Jeff said, but that's voluntary crunch, right? The amount of work I'm doing on the channel right now, this is voluntary. I'm doing it. I'm not getting any return from it.
Well, and there's some people that do like to actually, they're dealing with some other shit in their life. They're going
Yeah.
through. I mean, the only time I was a hardcore workaholic was when I was literally going through my divorce, and I guess that's better than heroin. But
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
me dealing with some very difficult emotional
Yeah,
shit in my
yeah.
life,
You pour yourself that's
and
the artist in you. Like, you're a musical talented type artist. I'm a writer. Right?
uh
And now a, at best considered an amateur, YouTube and Twitch or YouTube video creator and Twitch streamer. That's as best as you can call it right now based on my
well, and
audience.
you're really focusing
But
on trying to get your shit right, which is good. At the same
I'm
time,
learning. It's right now it's a hobby, right? That I'm treating
well, at
like
the
a
same
career.
time, you need to not focus on like pandering to your audience and
Sure.
more just you got to dive deep into your nerd
You
well.
you need to be authentic. That's
That's
the
what I'm
key.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the word I would use. You need to be authentic. There's enough clowns out there, as Luke Stevens would do it. Hey guys, this is my TikTok about blah blah blah. I was like, that's not me, dude.
I
Like, I
can't
could.
stand that. I turn that shit off every time.
Same here. Like, that's why I try to be a little bit more energetic to start in my intro. Like, I mean, I as a joke, like, hey guys, it's your boy. It's like, do I ever say it's your boy outside of my intro? No.
That's why I thought it was
But it's funny.
strange the first time I saw you say it.
It
It
was
was fucking weird.
sarcastic once, and I'm
It's
like,
it's
screw
still
it.
weird.
I'm just gonna keep doing it because it's like If
Still really
people
weird.
listen, I know, but if you listen, like, and anyone who knows me knows that that's not me. But I'm trying to give up a little bit of energy. Like I mean, I don't want to put people to sleep either, right? Like, so I got to at least I need to start the video right with like trying to get a little bit of energy in there. And like my first video was pretty flat. I was pretty quiet. I mean,
Well, you got to develop your
but
style.
it's
Like,
learning, yeah. But at the same time, I've got my thing, right? Like I have my way of doing things and I'm going to be me, right? Like I think that's the best way. You might be a little more amplified version of you. You're a little bit more drunk of a version of you today. Not that you're really that bad, but you know what I mean? Like, you know what
well,
I'm saying? Like
that's why I
that was
did
for
it
fun.
that way. I'm trying to help you with your deal, and
Well, I mean,
I
this is
got tomorrow
also
off anyway. It's Memorial Day, so I figured,
yeah.
what the hell?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, this was also an excuse. I mean, we know like life gets busy and it's hard to schedule things and yada yada. So it's like, okay, this is a chance for us to, do what we did before. I mean, even before we did the old rambles. I mean, we talked about this shit anyways, right? Like how, like we touched on like I want to do a serious AI so I can try to present what I've seen to you at some point. But like, how many conversations have I had like where it's just us talking back and forth for like 2-3 paragraphs, of context total. Like, hey, dude, I just saw this thing. Like how many times did we talk about the Bitcoin when it was going crazy with GPU prices back during COVID,
Oh,
right?
I
You know what I
sure
mean?
we
Like,
talked a lot
oh,
about that stuff.
like just pick a topic. Like we go back and forth for like in one or two sentences at a time until we have, I don't know, up. We have a very basic paper not written professionally in our conversation. Then we fuck off, and then and then a few days later, something else we get a bug up one of our asses, and we're like, "Hey, did you see this?" And we talk about that for a while, right? Like that's all we're doing here. It's the same thing. It's just that
Yeah, dude.
it's a little more loosely structured than those conversations. And I say loosely because I mean, again, how long did I would love to do a time clip? How long did we go off on a tangent on freaking Star Wars and Star Trek?
I don't know. I would say
20
45
minutes?
minutes,
Might
probably.
maybe.
30. I don't know.
Yeah.
My time.
Well, we've been almost 2 hours now, so
That's maybe it's a good time to like chill out. Like,
yeah.
I don't think we know anybody's having 6 hour podcasts,
No,
and
no,
nobody's
no.
gonna listen to this anyway. Like,
I mean,
if you've listened to
I've
this
had like
from
a
the very
6 hour
beginning,
video. I have had one. Since
if you
I've been
listen to this
streaming
from the
most of it, yes.
entire beginning, like that's truly impressive because it's just a couple of nerds talking about mega nerd shits,
Well, I mean,
and that's
that's my
wild.
that's my current business model. I mean, I'm not that it's paying anything, but I mean, like, I'm doing long form content is basically what I'm doing. I think my shortest video so
See, I
far is
like
like
that because
50 minutes, but it's
I
meant for
prefer long form content. Like, honestly, that's why I like YouTube more than TikTok
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because it's like you can find some hyper nerd that's going off for 3 or 4 hours on
Yeah.
some topic, and you're like, hey, I'm not super nerdy about that topic, but I appreciate when other nerds are nerding out about some shit. I
Yeah,
think
well, I
that's
mean, like,
great.
regardless of what we're playing or whatever, the goal is hopefully put it on a stream. If you're playing a video game, choose your dealer's choice, right? Like, go play your game and listen to us in the background. I understand. I do the same thing when I'm playing my games and I'm not recording and stuff. And then when we hit on a topic, like you go, he said what about Star Trek? He said that Star Trek and Star Wars suck. Fuck that guy. And okay, listen to us for 10 minutes. And you go,
Well,
oh,
and
okay, I see.
you should have some nerd rage if you want to have some nerd rage and
Go
respond
for
to
it.
comments here.
Yeah.
You should fucking go off. That's what you should
Yeah,
do.
it's okay. Like I mean, like I'm not too precious about this. Like it's like just my opinion, man. Like that's what I'm trying to come across from these things. All right. Like I'm not saying I'm the authority on the game industry. I'm just a business geek who really loves video games, loves playing video games, mostly single player and indie shit these days. But
Agreed.
I follow what's going on. I'm also partial to the whole AI movement for reasons. Like so I follow these things and like there's a lot of interesting stories. Like and the fact that I can tell you, just so you know, it's confirmed, Kingdom Come Deliverance 3 is in the works. Although the main
Oh,
writer's off to Hollywood to make a movie, so I don't know what's going on there. And and
oh,
they're all
Favreau.
yeah, I think so. I don't remember the guy's name, but whoever from the story I read, it's like the main he's doing a video. But I believe he's also
I mean, that's cool.
he's been a very contentious person on social media. So I think
Okay.
this has been a good way for the company to go, look, you're a little of a hot commodity right now. go do the movie thing, and we're gonna kinda keep doing our thing here." That's the sense I've gotten from the stuff I've consumed. There's probably more to it, I don't know it anymore. I can't give you any more information. I recommend you go look it up, and then you tell me, because you love everything Kingdom Come, I think you'll be interested. But also, in, like, the
I
same
do.
week that Amazon announced that they were killing off their MMO Lord of the Rings project, there were rumors previously that Warhorse came out and confirmed, "Yeah, we're working on a Lord of the Rings game." And I'm like, "Okay, if I don't have to get a mod so that I can just save whenever I want in this game, I'm all in, guys. I'd love to see what you do with a Middle-earth game." As long as you're not telling literally Lord of the Rings, if you're doing something from the Silmarillion somewhere, like, if you can do Lords of Power better than Amazon did, like, run circles around them, I'd give you all the kudos in the world. Like, I'm really interested in what that project's gonna come out, even more than Kingdom Come: Deliverance III. Of course, I haven't played 2 yet, but I'm gonna. And I think that'll be another fun ramble for us at some point where I just, like, I'm gonna go off in a billion different directions, and at the end of the day, I'm gonna go, "I really like the game, but I hate it with a passion," which is basically where I
Because
landed.
you're always bitching about all kinds of
Yeah,
shit else.
because of their focus on simulation from the first one. And based on your hints that it's basically the second one or the first one but improved, I'm like, "Okay, cool. So they're not gonna improve the things I need them to improve for me to
You're gonna
personally
like the
be happy,
combat a lot more. The
but I'm
combat's
also
better,
gonna hate
but
but I'm also gonna hate very certain aspects of the game, and there's just no getting around it. But other people love it, so, like, it's fine. It's,
in the
like,
very
just my opinion,
beginning
man."
in the very beginning, it's kind of brutal. I think
Yeah.
once you get past this sort of thing in the very beginning,
Well, if there's, like, a
uh,
trainer like there was in the first game, like, and you know where that is, like, I'll talk to you off stream before I play it. Um,
just get
there's a
Master
certain.
Strike's much easier in the second game. Try
I
to get
I couldn't do
Master
them.
Strike
I
as
flat out
much as
could not do
possible.
master strikes in the first game. I physically wasn't I
Well,
do not
Master
like that
Strike is
fight
much
style.
easier in this game, and it's going to make it so that you can win all the combats. Like it's
Okay.
very overpowered. It's very easy to do, but you do need to relearn Master Strike,
Oh,
and
well, I
there's
mean,
going to be
I'm
a
a clean slate
particular.
since I could not do them in the first game.
Well, then it's perfect. And so there is a particular trainer that will teach you Master Strike, but you do have to beat him.
Yeah.
But you're going to need to do it in a way that's going to be hard if in the very beginning, which you're degraded quite a bit in terms of your abilities. So
I
one thing that some people do is actually poison their weapon and hit the guy once, and then he gets poisoned and he dies. He's like, okay, I'll teach you Master Strike because you
That's
poisoned me
hilarious.
with your
Okay, I'm gonna put that in my
weapon.
back pocket. Poison, check.
Y-
I'll have to
Yeah,
engage in the mini game or find some place to buy poison before I try
just
that. Okay,
poison your sword and kill that guy and get Master Strike as soon as you can. And I think that'll be a
cool. Okay.
happier experience for
I
you.
did not install it. I actually went through and I started my prep run, and I started because it's got mods through the Steam community
Of
hub
course.
workshop, which is fantastic. I didn't. Well, not every game does that, right? The first game I got them off of Nexus. I think that's something they improved with the second game. I installed a few different mods. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. This is up my, like, obviously I did the save anywhere thing. I know that was like your one kibitz on the game too. But I
I
held
mean,
off on a
I
make the
don't like it.
game combat easier mod, even though I know that that was one of my annoyances from the first game.
I mean,
I
I
just don't
never
like it.
liked Resident Evil for that same game. Remember the first Resident Evil game where you had to find the
Oh
fucking
yeah.
ribbon and then you got to go to the typewriter? Fuck
Never
that shit.
played it.
Hate it.
I never I think we've talked about this before. I never really played the Resident Evil games until 5 because I played it co-op, even though I love zombie games. I played
I haven't
Parasite Eve.
tried it.
However, Parasite Eve
Parasite Eve was
2
interesting. That was different though.
decided to basically do all the things that Resident Evil did that I hated, and I
I never
hated
played
the second one
Resident
more.
or I never played Parasite Eve 2. I only played the first one.
The first
So
one's is a masterpiece. By the way, there's a bunch of
good.
indie games that are quite literally Parasite Eve inspired games that are coming out. I got
Okay.
one on my wish list that I'm tracking. There's a bunch, but I'm just gonna throw this out there so you can potentially it's like Parabellum something. Hold on, I'm scrolling through my wish list right now. Free tip to all the viewers out there. If you loved Parasite Eve back in the day, there's others. I just think I only remembered to put one on my wish list. Da-da-da, scrolling up because I think it was near the bottom. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have just searched for Parabellum. I would have found it. Dun, dun, dun. I have a bunch of stuff on my wish list right now. It's pretty crazy. There's a lot of interesting stuff coming up. And then I have things like Shadowrun Hong Kong that I'm like, someday I'm going to go on a nostalgia trip and play these again. Actually, I think I have them on GOG.
Those Shadowrun games were really good.
They were really
The
good.
from Hairbrain Schemes, yeah, that was a
Yeah.
good
They've
that
got
was a good
another game
series.
coming at some point now that they're free. I just wish they were allowed to keep doing the BattleTech. I'm really sad that they got screwed because
Yeah,
of
it's
Lamplighter
unfortunate.
Guild or whatever. That was here it is. Yeah, I was right. Dot 45 Parabellum Bloodhound. They call it
Hmm.
the subtitle is a cyberpunk active time action. But if you look at the trailer on Steam, dude, it's fucking it's Parasite Eve. It's absolutely Parasite Eve.
Huh.
Anyway, I'll leave you with that. I know we were wrapping up and then we found another thing to talk about, which is how we
No, I
always
mean we
go.
could talk for a long time. The
Well,
problem is, I want to leave this in somewhat digestible enough of a length for your people, and I do actually have some shit I need to do
yeah,
today.
man. Well, I
But
appreciate you hanging and
no, it's
and
been
engaging in
fun.
some talks. Even if we only
It's been a lot
loosely
of fun.
talked about the main subject and then went on tangents stop.
We went on more tangents than normal, but that's probably because I'm like slightly drunk at the moment. That's probably why. But
No, I think it's a more natural conversation. Like I said, that is completely fine with me.
yeah,
Anyway,
that's cool.
well, I will thank you again. No, save as a text file. I sorry, I've got like a little notes here where like I held up the like as you saw like the 3 notes underneath like death of traditional and we hit all that crap. We loosely talked on Subnautica, but that's a topic for later. You mentioned we
Put
didn't mention the
chapters for
Cuphead.
people.
You didn't mention the Cuphead drama. Okay, you are asking for a level of editing that I have not done yet. And it's not that it's not a good thing. And of course, if Zay was editing this, you know absolutely they'd all be in there.
I mean, it's your
Um
fucking stream. You could do what you want. I'm just saying it
I
might be
should.
helpful
Oh,
for
I
you.
absolutely should. And
Yeah.
if I continue to grow up and be a big boy uh influencer, ugh, hate that word. Um Streamer, YouTuber, whatever, I don't know. It's worth doing. Dude, my most recent thing was we did we've got thumbnails as of the last few videos. We did PNG tubing in our
Oh,
last
there you
couple
go. That's
videos, which aren't
very
on the
good.
table, but they're streaming. I can actually stream that to you on Discord at some point. Not today. I'll show it to you later if you want to see if you want to see behind the scenes of how I make the thumbnails, thanks to Zay's awesome tech from her art project she was working on. But that's stuff for another day. We now just crested 2 hours, so I'm happy to say thank you for your service and your tolerance and your continued friendship. And hopefully we can do another one of these soon, as
We'll do
well
another
as
one soon.
other things.
No, it's always fun chatting with you. That's good. I should have more drinks next time too. Keeps things more animated. That's
If
good.
this helps you get into the zone of just these beer literally intended to be beer and pretzel conversations, I'm fine. Kids drink responsibly. No, there's no kids listening. So all of the old grognards like us can laugh and continue drinking a beer or whatever beverage of their choice.
I mean, the younger generation I've heard is drinking less anyway, which is an entirely another conversation, which I'm not going to get into. So
Next time on Dragon Ball Z. You don't know the amount of times we said that in a video. And none of us watch Dragon Ball anymore. Anyway, on that note, peace out, everybody. Have a good one.
good talking to you, everybody. Have a good one. Take it easy.